This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Very, 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 Mickey, 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 Fishy, Fishy!
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
I like him. Who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me. I like him.
In the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
And we are live here on the Voices of Wrestling Flagship Podcast. I'm Rich Craich, alongside, as always, the king of banter, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, this is a classic Voices of Wrestling tonight. We got tons of shit going on. People are getting released, ratings talk, WrestleMania Weekend. Like, this is old school stuff. This is pre-pandemic Voices of Wrestling today. I can't wait.
A lot to talk about. A lot of burials to dole out.
A lot of burials. Yeah. I honestly, I hate to have, all these people now on the in the breadline, when they get released from World Wrestling Entertainment. But these shows always do well. People love to hear us talk about guys not having jobs anymore. So hey, good day for that. A lot of big releases here. We are going to keep refreshing our Twitter feeds as well to see if any more trickle in, if more people answer their phones or turn their phones on. But we have a big list there. We'll get to that here in a sec. We got WrestleMania freaking weekend that we're going to talk about. Everything but WrestleMania. If you want WrestleMania takes, you have to listen to our instant reaction shows. We did 3 hours combined, 4 hours combined of WrestleMania thoughts over the weekend. So we did instant reactions immediately following both night 1 and night 2, or better known as WrestleMania Saturday and WrestleMania Sunday. So you can go to the Voice Wrestling Patreon for those. So we're not going to recap WrestleMania. We will talk TakeOver. We will talk every other WrestleMania weekend show that we watched, and plenty of burials along the way as well. The good, the bad, the ugly of WrestleMania weekend. But I am not even going to try to start off topic. I'm not even going to talk about Carlos Rodon's almost perfect game, but actual no-hitter yesterday, which we could talk about for quite a while. But we need to get right into this wrestling because there is just a lot to get to here. NXT AEW ratings, the first post-war showdown between these two. NXT, we'll talk about their ratings in a little bit. The big number, though, 1.2 million for AEW, the first unopposed week. Best number that they've had since their debut episode. Joe, I know you just talked about it in the Thursday tier reviews, but what do you make of this big AEW number?
Well, more importantly, the 0.44 in the demo.
Right, yeah.
So that's tied for the fourth highest ever, and they haven't done a number that high since October 21st, 2019. So this is the highest demo number they've done this decade. So yeah, that's got to be what they're most pleased with. I think we all kind of figured, the conventional wisdom at least, was that NXT would gain with some 18 to 49 viewers, since they're more apt to watch Dynamite head-to-head. And Dynamite would gain some over 50 viewers, which they did, because those viewers are more apt to watch NXT head-to-head. Dynamite was actually up, I think, 100% in over 50, and they won the over 50 demo, which they never do if you're still good, if you want to compare it directly to NXT the night before. So very clearly, a lot of the usual NXT viewers on Wednesday nights sampled Dynamite this week, just based on the over 50 growth. But it wasn't just over 50. The over 50 makes that total viewership look like a real pretty number on the sheet, right? Because you're over that arbitrary 1 million number that everybody is on.
Yeah,
and
right.
It just looks good on the sheet. And a good chunk of that is because they did so much better. They doubled their over 50 viewership. But they went from a 0.2, of course I had all my notes and then I closed the page. What they do last week in the demo, they did a point. Don't try to answer that. I have it right here. They did a 0.26 in the demo last week, Dynamite, and they're up to a 0.44 this week. That I don't think anyone was expecting. I thought people expected the total viewership to go up to some degree and the demo to go up to some degree, but to do one of the best total demo numbers, I mean, we're talking first month rollout of the show level demo number here. So just a incredible success. There's no spin on this Dynamite number. I do think it'll drop to some degree next week, because I think what you have here, are some of the usual NXT viewers who sampled, because it's Wednesday night and they're used to watching wrestling on Wednesdays. They watched their NXT the night before. Nothing going on. All right, I'll check out Dynamite. You're not going to keep all of them. So the question is, how many do you keep? There's going to be a certain portion of that new audience that you gain this week that decide that the show is not for them, or that just came in to hate watch it and have no intentions of watching it moving forward, or whatever the case may be. But the fact that they peaked this high the first unopposed week at the 0.44 means that even with some drop-off, they can settle in much higher than what they were doing previously.
Right.
And that's going to be the key moving forward.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, because you asked me, it was either last week or the week before, what my prediction was, and I'll admit I was way off. I really thought NXT was going to maybe grow a little bit more as more AEW fans said, you know what, fuck it, I got not, they're not head-to-head anymore, and I want to watch more wrestling, so I'll watch on Tuesday, but that the AEW number would only grow slightly, because I just assumed that your NXT hardcores or those over 50s were not really very interested in checking out AEW, and clearly I was wrong, and a popular theory today, and I'm very curious about this, because I actually don't know your thoughts on this as well. I don't know if you addressed it on the Thursday tier reviews. You record that just before we got on the air here. But what do you make of this being the week? And again, is it possibly just a coincidence? Possibly just it happened to be this week. But what do you make of that this week, after WrestleMania, they have a show where one of the stars of AEW, Chris Jericho, comes on to the WWE Network and Peacock and basically advertises his show to all the WWE fans and says, hey, I'm doing this thing here, and and him and Austin go into a long discussion about wrestling and all that sort of stuff, where if I'm a semi-lapsed fan, or I'm watching and I didn't really love what I saw from WrestleMania, I have one of these guys that I remember from my childhood talking about how fun and how awesome this other company he's in. I don't know, is that just a pure coincidence at this point, or do we think that maybe there's something to be said that there were people that said, oh, well, maybe I'll check out that AEW thing this weekend?
Well, look, I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know. I think anyone could tell you how much direct effect that had. I think it'd be foolish to say the effect was zero. And I mean, I said at the time, I think you agreed with me, but I have no idea what Vince McMahon was thinking. I mean, this is one of the worst own goals in his history. Why would you allow this? Why would you give AEW a free 2-hour commercial on Peacock and the WWE Network to expose their product to your audience? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. And some of the spin that we saw was, well, this is just, Vince is a genius. This is him saying that they're no threat and he's not concerned with them. Well, even if that was his mindset, he's a fool.
Yeah,
he's
dumb.
An absolute fool.
It's really dumb. Yeah, you should.
Even if he doesn't. And look, in the grand scheme, they really aren't a threat. I mean, just look at compare the television deals, compare the media rights deals between the two companies.
Yeah, compare the profit loss margins on both those companies. Yeah, they are not competitors. They're competitors in this professional wrestling space, but in terms of revenue generating content machines, no, they're nowhere near.
But it's like, why give them that opportunity to expose their product? It makes no sense. And you cannot convince me that there weren't at least some segment of people. I don't know if it's a statistically insignificant number of people. I don't know if it was part of the reason why Dynamite blew up this week. You cannot convince me that there weren't people who had no idea AEW existed, who watched that, and then subsequently checked it out on Wednesday. And if one person was exposed to AEW through that interview and then watched on Wednesday, that's a win for AEW.
Right.
I have no clue why Vince McMahon would approve of that. And if I'm Tony Khan and Jericho pitches that to me, I say yes.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Do it 1,000 times over. Yeah. As long as you know he's not going to go on there and bury you and say, I hate working for that company. That company sucks. That's the minor leagues. Maybe that's what Vince thought was going to happen, or maybe he just doesn't give a shit anymore. I'm really at a loss for what happened here. And we had Dustin Bailey in our chat room brings up a great comp here, very similar to the butts and seats moment of Tony Schiavone going, Mankind on that other channel is going to win their world title, and then immediately like 1 million people switch over and go, oh fuck, hell yeah, I'm gonna watch Mankind win the world title. And it's just an all-time, like, what are you doing? Why would you advertise the other show? I mean, that's not to say that, and we're not, people that listen to the show know that we are not people that think you can never, ever address the other company and ever kind of talk about the other company. But when you do so, you probably want to say, you know, allude to the company or bury the other company or whatever. But I don't know that you really want to say, hey, this is what's happening on another show. That sounds cool, doesn't it? Well, you're not going to switch over. You're going to stay with us anyway. Like that's what this was, because Jericho's talking about how much he loves wrestling again and how interesting it is, and then him and Stone Cold are having this like very long discussion about wrestling psychology, and I'm looking at that as like, dude, if I was like a fan that didn't know that AEW existed or had never checked it out, and I just got done watching WrestleMania and I didn't love what I saw, or I didn't really it didn't really resonate with me, whatever, like you're saying, there's got to be there's at least one person that watched that and said, fuck, I'm gonna watch that thing on Wednesday. That sounds pretty cool, actually. And maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't, whatever, but like that one person said, fuck, like I'm gonna move over there. We know there's one. I mean, there had to be one, but it's just I'm at an absolute loss of how that was ever approved or allowed to happen. So,
well, maybe Vince's mindset is Jericho's contract is up in a year and he would like to take him back. I'm sure he would like to take.
Do Jericho a solid in that sense, not necessarily caring what AEW does. Just, you know, he would take Jericho in a heartbeat.
Oh, he's going to make a play, and if Jericho would be a fool if he doesn't field all these offers, and he will. Jericho's an excellent businessman.
He's a worker for sure.
And you know, they're going to want to get him back, and nothing for nothing, you could still argue that Jericho is their top ratings draw. I mean, there's a lot, and I did talk about this behind the paywall a bit, but I'll talk about it here as well. There's a lot of people who are, you know, sick of Jericho because, you know, clearly he's not the wrestler he once was. They don't like his political views or whatever the case may be. And I've heard a lot of talk that Jericho's got to go. These people are out of their minds. Last week, and this was straight from inside the company, by the way, forget the quarter hours. Last week, the top drawing segment on Dynamite was Chris Jericho's 9-minute promo. That drew more viewers than anything else on Dynamite. Chris Jericho's 9-minute promo. This week on Dynamite, we have the quarter hours. And I'm looking at them right now. The top drawing segment among males 18 to 49 was the Chris Jericho versus FTR bald match. And it was only it was the second highest quarter hour behind the main event at 595,000 viewers in the demo. 599 for the Darby Allin Matt Hardy main event, the eighth quarter hour. So Jericho is still arguably the top draw in this company. In fact, the Jericho quarter hour, where his match took place, drew the most total viewers of anything on the show. 1,350,000 viewers for quarter hour 5, which was the Jericho quarter hour. So again, does this tell us that people saw Jericho on the Peacock and then checked out what he did this week? I don't know. I have no idea. What I know is every week, week after week, you put Jericho on TV and he's in the top performing segments. So he's still arguably the top star in the company. That has to change because you don't want your top star to be the 50-year-old guy. I understand that. And they're doing a good job building other people. But does Vince McMahon, is he privy to the fact that Chris Jericho is arguably their top television draw? Of course he is. So when that contract comes due, you're damn right they're going to make a play for him. As well they should. Not only just, not even so much to have Jericho for yourself, but to take Jericho away from them.
Right, to not let AEW have him, yeah.
Right, because, and you know, and Jericho talked in that interview about how he knew his future in WWE was going to be as a second match guy. That's how he termed it. They're not going to push me anymore. I'm going to be a second match guy. I'm going to help get other people over. And he felt he still had more to offer. So, you know, he made deals with New Japan. He heard Tony Khan out. And now he's a top guy. And you know, he's loving life. So, you know, just a baffling decision. Just total stupidity. I mean, and people spinning it as some kind of genius move. I mean, it makes no sense. Since I brought up the quarter hours, we may as well go.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you have in front of you, right?
Yeah, so the top, like I said, the top quarter hour in total viewers was quarter hour 5, which was predominantly Jericho versus Bald. So that did 1,350,000 viewers, quarter hour 5. It was not the top quarter hour in 18 to 49. Like I said, it came 5,000 viewers short of quarter hour 8, which obviously was the main event. The Darby versus Matt Hardy match, quarter hour 8, averaged 599,000 viewers. The Jericho FTR Bald quarter hour 5 was 595,000 viewers. The third highest, of course, was the opening quarter hour, which is always going to be in your top 3. And that was the Bucks match, the Bucks cold open interview, and then the Bucks match, which actually ran, I think, into the second quarter hour. It definitely did. actually. It finished right before 8:30. But quarter hour 1 was 587,000 viewers in 18 to 49. So, those were your top 3 quarters. It should be no surprise that it was, Chris Jericho, Darby Allin, and the Young Bucks that were the top 3 quarters. Just going through them quickly, and these are in the demo. Quarter hour 2 dropped to 558,000. Quarter hour 3 dropped to 534. That's the pattern every week. Every week the pattern is the show starts big, and then usually quarter hours 2 and 3 drop because you start to lose the viewers that you inherited from the lead-in. But it's interesting in that quarter hour 2 actually had more total viewers than quarter hour 1. So that tells you that that Bucks match did draw eyeballs, in totality. Quarter hour 4, 538,000 viewers. And then I talked about quarter hour 5. And then 6 and 7 in the demo were about 560,000 viewers until the main event spiked back up and did the highest quarter hour in the 18 to 49 at 599,000 viewers. Now, look, the quarters don't tell you the whole story. I just gave you an anecdote from last week where Chris Jericho's promo, that quarter hour wasn't the highest quarter hour, but that 9-minute segment was the highest viewed 9 minutes on the show. Mm-hmm. So it's the minute by minutes that really matter. And, we'll probably never see those from this week. It's much harder to get those. But the quarter hours are a good enough snapshot. Basically, the further down you drill, the clearer the picture you get, right? The total rating tells you one thing. The quarters tell you another thing. And it's really the minute by minutes where you can determine who's tuning in, who's tuning out, what they're tuning in for. Because you could have a segment that kills, right? But then the rest of the quarter hour could be something no one cares about, and it balances it out. But that segment that killed, you just look at the quarters, that segment that killed and may have done the most viewers on the show gets obscured because it's in a quarter hour that in totality ends up looking mediocre.
Right. And it's all about trends over time as well. You can sort of notice that, okay, X wrestler in this quarter usually, like, it very rarely, because like week by week, it gets pretty crazy sometimes. I know a few weeks ago, I forget what it was. It was that some women's tag or something like that was a part of the highest quarter. So everybody was like, it's the women's tag or whatever. Yeah, and it's like, well.
Here's what that was. This is what it was. That was last week. It was the Tay Conti match.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You're right.
The finish of the Tay Conti match fell into the highest quarter hour. But in reality, only 90 seconds of that match aired in that quarter hour, right? So that wasn't responsible for popping the
Now, you don't know that, though.
We do know that.
Yeah, I know.
99% of the match aired in the previous quarter hour, okay? 90 seconds of the match aired in the quarter hour that popped big. But what was responsible for that quarter hour popping big was the start of the fucking main event with, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and everybody else. But what people saw from Dave's report in that listed as part of that quarter hour was the finish to Tay Conti versus, I forget who she wrestled. I don't even remember. So they're like, oh, well, look at Tay Conti popping. No, it was 90 seconds of the match. So this is where you really got to look at the minute by minutes, And, and then, that's when, someone from the company DM'd us and told us, it was actually the Jericho 9-minute promo, which is where the show peaked last week. The Tay Conti match did well. It was the Tay Conti match in totality, not the quarter hour, just the Tay Conti match, the segment. They break them down in the segments in the room. Was the 5th highest drawing segment of the show. It did well.
Yeah, which is good.
But,
no, scoff at, but not the top. Yeah, not the top part of the show. Yeah.
Upper middle, but people were acting like, see, this is evidence. You got to push all these. No, the main event is what drew that quarter hour. That's what popped it. The start of the main event, which I think was number 2 behind the Jericho promo, was the main event. So I'm not looking at it right now, but I think that's what the case. I went over it behind the paywall if people want the details, $5 tier. But what these last 2 weeks have shown, these have been a bad couple of weeks for the people who are trying to bump Jericho out of here, because he's still very clearly the top television draw in the company. The other interesting thing about this Dynamite rating this week, Rich, no Cody Rhodes at all, no Moxley at all, and no match from Kenny Omega.
Right.
Another feather in Jericho.
That's big. Yeah, that's big for Jericho.
Jericho, Darby, and the Bucks. And that's what the quarters tell us. And really big for Dynamite because they had, Moxley, who I guess you could argue along with Jericho might be the other guy you would argue as being the top draw in the company, right? I mean, it'd come down to one of those two.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And especially in that female demo, too, we always see Darby numbers do really, really well. And our very own Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics, he has a really, when he does his, analysis, which are second to none ratings analysis here. But, compared to the median of the last 4 weeks, so kind of the average of the last 4 weeks, they were up 100% in the female 18 to 49, up 57% in the overall 18 to 49, up 93% in just anybody 18 to 34. It pretty nuts, some of these numbers. Female 12 to 34, up 90% over the last 4 weeks. So yeah, just a complete, just a ton of new people checking out this show.
So the women showed up, and that kind of shits on the argument that it was the challenge, right? I mean, even we floated that one.
Right. And the challenge did well. I think so now, again, I know there's a lot of challenge experts in our chat room, so maybe they could chime in. I think it was a weird episode of the challenge. I don't think it was a normal episode of the challenge. It when it showed up in the ratings sheet, it said something else and it got cut off, and I forgot to look up what it was, but it was the challenge something. And I don't know if it was an actual episode or like a recap episode or something. So I don't know. That could be the result, or maybe I'm wrong and it was just a normal challenge episode. But
well, either way, we're gonna find out in 2 weeks, because next week is the end.
Okay.
So if this was some kind of weird recap week and Dynamite benefited from that, they're obviously going to want to show up for the finale. And then after that, we'll find out for sure. It'll become, hopefully this was some kind of weird recap week, because then it'll become more clear. Because if all of these female demos, these young female demos, drop next week and then go back up the week after when challenge is gone, then we know that the challenge had an effect these last few weeks. But my analysis behind the paywall, the way I'm looking at it now is, I kind of just think it was the idea that it was, I'm kind of on board now with the theory that it was just Mania season. I mean, because NXT spiked in the lead up to TakeOver, the week of TakeOver, and now I guess we should talk about NXT a little.
Yeah, I do want to preface real quick. Matthew Allen in the chat room says part one of the finale of the challenge. So that's a pretty big get then. Okay,
that's a big show.
Yeah. So it said the challenge double agents. I'm looking at it now, and I didn't know what that was, but that's apparently the finale. So
yeah, I'm not really. You know what? I'm hand waving the challenge theory because it was sketchy to begin with, and there's no reason that they would abandon part one of the finale to go watch wrestling all of a sudden.
Right.
So,
100% over the median of the last 4 weeks in female 18 to 49. So yeah, they clearly just stopped caring about the challenge right as the finale started, or that's irrelevant to us. So
no, that's NXT's young female viewers who didn't have wrestling to watch that night. That's all that was. That's what that was. And that was NXT's young female viewers, and whatever Dynamite has lost over the last few weeks, for whatever reason they came back this week. And I think there's something to the Revolution malaise with, Revolution kind of being a dud. With the way it finished and everything. I think there's something to that, but I don't think it's overly significant. But I really think the idea that NXT just happened to get hot around WrestleMania has some legs.
It was WrestleMania season, and that we used to follow those patterns on Raw all the time, and that kind of held true this year. But in prior years, it was always like, boom, here we go. Like it would start in January, basically. But yeah, you would get this kind of WrestleMania thing where everybody just kind of says, hell, I'll watch it for WrestleMania. We're building up to TakeOver. We're building up to WrestleMania. We're doing all that sort of stuff. So you can kind of sit down and say, hey, this month I'm going to really focus on watching NXT in the build to TakeOver, in the build to WrestleMania, in the build to all this sort of stuff. And that's how rating patterns always used to go. The fallout wasn't usually like the next night or whatever. And to be fair, NXT did pretty well. They finished 805,000 viewers total, 0.22 in the 18 to 49 demo though. So that is the highest overall viewership since Halloween Havoc. That was last October when they did the Halloween Havoc special. And then the demo number equaled what they had last week for TakeOver Stand and Deliver night one. So adults 18 to 49 even, females 18 to 49 even, males 18 to 49 plus 8%. So they went up 8% there. Females 12 to 34 plus 14%, males 12 to 34 even. And pretty much every other number pretty close to either even or just slightly above what they were the week prior. So what do you make of those numbers for NXT?
There's opinions all over the place. I'm of the opinion that it's an okay number leaning negative, honestly.
Well, when you compare those, I mean, like, look at that. I mean, we're saying up 8%, 14%, up 4%. On Dynamite, we're talking plus 100%, plus 90%, plus 30%. I mean, we're talking complete dramatic shifts in who's watching. NXT was, other than females, 12 to 34, who they were up 14%. Nobody else really changed. Adults 18 to 49, exactly even with what it was at TakeOver.
Even. No, now the argument is, okay, but it's a TakeOver. But my counter argument to that was, okay, we'll go 2 weeks back. They did a .21.
Right.
I mean, they've done this, so they changed nights where in theory, and not really in theory, now we have in practice, based on the Dynamite number, you should be gaining a shit ton of viewers. They gained nothing in the demo over the last 2 weeks. Even if you want to throw the TakeOver out, the week before was a .21. So to me, and you look back at last September when they aired on Tuesday on the Post 2 weeks in a row, they did a .26 and a .22. They're right in the same range. And in fact, their overall viewership was lower than both of those weeks. They did 849 and 838. This week they did 805. So they did less total viewers than they did the last time they were unopposed. And, less than the last, September 2nd, they did a .26. This week they did a .22. That's why I don't think this is such a great number, because like the Dynamite number, I think this one's going to go down, because this was also the week after TakeOver, where in theory you're going to have a few more viewers.
Right.
That want to see the TakeOver fall out and whatnot. So, I think this number's going to drop. And I don't think it's going to drop to those levels when they were getting smashed by Dynamite and they were doing .14s. And, that's not going to happen. But I could see them dropping to like .18, .19, right around .2. And I think that's where the settle point is going to be. And the total viewership, maybe 700 in the 700s, 800s in a good week, like this week. So their gain has been minimal. See, I think we kind of figured this is the neighborhood I thought they'd be in. What surprised us was the Dynamite number being so... When I saw the Dynamite number, I couldn't believe my eyes. The first tweet I saw with the Dynamite numbers, I thought the person was fucking around. That's how I just totally exceeded my expectations. I expected Dynamite to maybe have slight gains the way that NXT did. And I think when both of them settle down to the level they're going to settle at, NXT is not going to be significantly above the level they were at. And I think with AEW's start point being at .44 and well over 1 million, they have a chance to settle well above where they were when the shows were head to head.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think the NXT number, that's why I kind of lean a little negative on I think it's a slightly disappointing number.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, it's okay. It's whatever. But yeah, if the goal initially with NXT going up against AEW was to try to hurt AEW, and we could see now definitively, at least in 1 week, that they achieved that goal. They hurt the overall viewership of AEW. It didn't really matter anymore because AEW got re-upped anyway, and the demo numbers were fine. They destroyed, they beat NXT all every week after week after week after week. But like, we saw that was the goal of what NXT was supposed to be. So now NXT moves to Tuesday as sort of a, okay, whatever, we don't, let's open this up for USA to air the, hockey and NASCAR and all that stuff that they're going to need to air and whatnot. But still, it has to be a shocking number that they go to Tuesday now, basically say, all right, fine, we're not going to go head to head anymore, and get no real growth. I mean, to me, that, I'm with you. I don't see how that's not a disaster in the room of just saying, oh fuck, like what is this? I mean, yeah, it's great. You got money. You're showing you're doing your show. You're doing all that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, ultimately, like you really expect that first number, that first one especially, and we see it with AEW this week. You want that first number to be big, especially with TakeOver, especially after WrestleMania, especially as the lead-in and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a very normal, okay, perfectly fine number for NXT, and that has to have people worried. There, unless they're just fine with this and this is what NXT is going to be. But, something we've talked about for weeks and weeks and weeks, if you don't think today a memo came out and said, all right, what are we putting on Wednesdays on Peacock, or what are we putting on Wednesdays on Sci-Fi? Gabe Sapolsky's phone, he's probably got an emergency meeting tonight with, that they are doing something on Wednesdays. There is no chance in hell that they're letting AEW have Wednesday all to themselves. Something is coming up this week. Some email has been sent out. Some emergency meeting is happening right now. No doubt in my mind. Zero doubt in my mind.
Yeah, they already filmed that Evolve pilot, that NXT Evolve or whatever. It has NXT branding and Evolve branding.
Yeah, NXT Evolve, yeah.
Yeah, because remember, WWE bought the Evolve trademarks and everything from WWN. They acquired all of that at the time. So they have been preparing for this. So I'm sure they'd like to get it on TV through one of, NBC Universal's other channels. Obviously, they can't use USA. And if they can't do that, they will undoubtedly, at least at minimum, put something on the network. I mean, they have to. There's no way. This is how they play. and seeing this number, they're good. And yes, it'll be minimal. I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, okay, if you get NXT Evolve on, Sci-Fi or one of these second tier cable channels, that's not going to have much effect." They don't care as long as it has some effect.
Any effect, yeah. That
Yes.
is, if you study, if there's anything you need to know about the history of WWE and how they compete with other wrestling companies, they really honestly don't care as long as they can affect you in some way negatively. That is all they've ever cared about in their competition. They will lose money. They will have no viewers. They don't, as long as in some way it negatively affects you, they are down. And even if 10,000 people watch NXT Evolve on Wednesdays, and if they can at least buy some headlines and have NXT Evolve, headlines at the same time as AEW, that's all that they care about. It's just about NXT UK exists in its own little fucking universe that nobody gives two shits about because they wanted to make a dent in the European business. That's all it was there for, and they never cared if it was successful or not, and it never was successful, and it was never going to be successful, but they don't care because they made you unsuccessful. So that is always
it was just a bullet at ITV. That's all.
Right.
World of Sport.
Exactly. So yeah, hiring Jim Ross, doing all that sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always just little stuff here and there, and it's worked obviously over the last 30 40 years. It's worked tremendously. They bought out other competition and nobody exists anymore except for them over the last few decades. But that is what they do. So if they don't give a shit if 50,000 people watched on Peacock, because that's 50,000 people that are not going to watch AEW, and that's all that matters to them.
Yeah, the goal was they didn't really care at the end of the day whether NXT beat AEW.
No,
they just wanted to prevent AEW from getting numbers like this. That's all. They didn't want AEW creeping up on Raw. That was the goal of NXT. And if NXT happened to win, great. I mean, they didn't. They got destroyed. But the goal was to just keep as many people, and they will do that again, even if it's something that seems insignificant. If they can get some other dopey developmental show on Sci-Fi or something, of course they'll do it. And by the way, they'll probably get some rights fees for it too. That's another $20 million on the bottom line. Why the hell not? If NBC is going to pay them another X amount, whatever the amount is for some programming on Wednesday nights, that's going to blow away whatever that channel's doing now. They'll take the money and take a couple viewers here or there from Dynamite. So I fully expect that to happen.
Oh, for sure.
And if it
with that being said, not to interrupt with you, but I mean, there's any number of places they can go. They can go to Sci-Fi, or I mean, it might be. I mean, NBC might literally, if they say, "Hey, we have a new show. Do you want us to put it on Peacock?" And given how NBC is so nuts about getting stuff on Peacock, especially trying to get live stuff on there, it's not unrealistic that NBC pays them to have this thing stream on Peacock as well. People forget that
possible.
This is not the WWE Network anymore. This is not their own little baby. NBC really, really wants Peacock to work, and they really, really want live stuff on Peacock. It's not unrealistic that they can float that and say, hey, we want to produce a new show or whatever. What channel do you want it on, or what thing do you want it on? And it might be on Peacock, but that's not necessarily WWE doing it for free. I mean, I think we might have to realize we're not in that universe anymore. I mean, they might do it for free, they might do it as a solid, but it's not unrealistic that NBC pays them to have stuff on Peacock as well. So if it ends up on Peacock, don't just assume that that's WWE saying, well, we have nowhere else to put it, we'll put it on Peacock. Like, don't assume that. I mean, there's a lot of money going into this Peacock thing, but you got Bravo. I mean, it's not going on Bravo, it's not going on anything, but Sci-Fi is a potential spot there. I know a lot of stuff. I don't know where it's going to go, but you're right. They're going to get something for it.
It took a lot of balls to walk in that room and say, hey, pay us for more content for the Peacock, even though you're already paying us $1 billion. But you're right. I mean,
I'm not running the boardroom at fucking NBC Universal, but money's flowing there. So
but at minimum, if they can't get a check for it, they'll just throw it on the network, which is then all encompassed by the Peacock. They're going to put something on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
Something is going on Wednesday night. I mean, I think this whole Evolve pilot or whatever
it was all prepared for this. It was that the second
exactly.
we saw, I mean, and smart listeners, people that listen to our show, know that the second we saw that, go back to the episode we did 3 months ago about NXT Evolve. We said this is the replacement when they decide that NXT is going to move to Tuesdays, because NBC is going to say, hey, we need Wednesdays for hockey and NASCAR and all that sort of stuff, so hit the fucking bricks, go to Tuesday, and WWE was already ready with NXT Evolve, ready to replace it on Wednesdays on whatever channel, whatever property it was going to be on. So yeah, smart listeners already saw this coming a mile away, but here it is.
I mean, if you thought the NXT number was a good number, you can't think that today, right? I mean, how can you think that today after seeing what Dynamite did? The 805 and the .22. I mean, it's just like that shatters the theory that did well, because it shows you how much of the potential Wednesday night universe they didn't capture and bring with them to Tuesday. So, that's another argument in favor of the number not being so hot that they did on Tuesday night. But we'll see. I mean, this week one unopposed, I expect both shows to drop next week. And maybe NXT won't, and this is where they live now. And maybe Dynamite will. Would it stun me if Dynamite did like a .36 next week? I mean, I don't know if it would stun me, but I think they'd take it, because if that's their settle point, that's not a bad place to build from. But obviously, you're putting up a .44 this week with you want to be .4. This is where you want to be, unopposed. This is your chance to capture the entire audience. That's where you want to be now, because you proved you can do it. So I just don't expect it to stay there. But in fairness, the shows have been really fucking good. And that's the other piece of this. I think that has something to do with it. It takes a while when you do a bunch of new storylines and you do these crazy segments every week, and you're forming these new, top level stables and whatnot. It takes time for storylines and feuds and grudges to get over. And I really cautioned this behind the paywall the last few weeks, especially last week, but you really have to be careful about hyper-focusing on these super short-term ratings trends, which is really what it was for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's a super short-term rating trend in the middle of WrestleMania season and all this other bullshit. You have to be very careful to rip up your plans and start over, because things aren't working immediately. That's so dangerous. That's why, to me, it was always stay the course. These shows are well received. They're well reviewed. People seem to like them. The directions are hot. Things feel hot. In time, that can catch on. It appears this week that that's the case. If you give it some time and then it doesn't catch on, well, then, yeah, your ideas stunk because nobody liked them. But it wasn't enough time. How can you know this quickly whether the pinnacle is working or not? You can't. How can you know whether this switch to doing heat on all of the shows and wild brawls and the crazy ECW style segment that closed the show last night? How do you know? You can't determine in 2 or 3 weeks whether that stuff's working yet or not. You got to give it a chance to breathe. You got to give people a chance to get into this QT Marshall stable that turned on Cody, and maybe they won't get into Anthony Ogogo. But you can't make that judgment in 1 week.
No, and it's ludicrous to do that too. And all we have to do is look at
this is what people were doing.
I know, and all you have to do is go back, and I hate to always go back to the Monday Night Wars. I hate to always go back to the same thing, but all you have to do is look, and I fired him up right here. Scott Hall debuts on WCW Nitro on May 27th. They win that night, 2.8 to 2.3. They'd won the night prior. And that's during the period when they were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So they get 2.8 the week he debuts. The next week, they're at a 3. I think that's when Kevin Nash debuts, or he debuted in a few weeks. They lose 2 weeks after that. It's not until basically September and that's post NWO, you know what I mean? Like, that's after the Hogan heel turn. It's not until September and October that they really just start kicking ass and never look back. Like, just never, ever look back. It took time. It wasn't like immediately someone said, oh, hey, Sky Hall debuted on WCW, and then everybody started watching Nitro every single week. And it wasn't, it's not overnight. So yeah, it is so weird that people just assume that, well, geez, I don't know, it's not working after 1 week. Like, imagine.
So the ratings are bad for the ratings are bad for 2 or 3 weeks there. And all of a sudden, people are just, well, there has to be a reason. So it must be all the factions, or it must be because there's too many people on the screen, or it must be because they do blood every week. It's like, no.
Let's see. Yeah, let's give it some time. Yeah,
these things could be working. You don't know.
Right. And if 3 months time, and if in 3 months time we can look at this large graph, and it just goes down and down and down and down, and we can look at a point where, hey, geez, wow. after 3 months, this 1 point, it never got back up. It never reached. Then okay, I think we can obviously say, but yeah, 1 week, reel it in, guys. It's nuts. But I want to say it's a byproduct of like Twitter and stuff, but I don't even know if it is.
It is Twitter to some extent, but there were look, Dave Meltzer was on that train.
Right.
On the screen.
Did you hear it? I don't want to be. We're never the hey, Dave Meltzer said something stupid, let's talk about a podcast. But did you hear? I think it was last week where he's like, well, yeah, women really don't like the blood, and women don't really like this, and Brian was like, well, how do you know that that's why the women aren't watching?
Yeah.
And Dave goes, well, I called one of my ex-girlfriends, and she said that's why she doesn't watch. And Brian was like, what?
And it's like,
excuse me, like that. I don't think that's enough to determine that that's the reason why, because one woman doesn't like the blood. I don't know if that's quite enough that we can really go on that women don't like the blood. That
yeah,
might...
you know what? I'm gonna trust the minute by minute graph that Chris Harrington posted that showed that female viewership grew during the Thunder
right
Road,
versus Dave's ex-girlfriend. Which, by the way, that's some big. We should start doing that. We should start texting ex-girlfriends and asking them their thoughts on Dynamite and why they watch and why they don't watch. I don't think that's going to go well for me. I don't know about you, but I don't think it's going to elicit much of an answer from.
Look, I've disagreed with Meltzer's analysis a lot over the last month or so. The one thing I do agree
bury him,
with,
Joe. Bury his ass. Mabel the third man, you idiot.
I was just going to agree with something.
Dirt sheet. Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Unfortunately, I can't commit to this bit.
I want to make more money doing the let's bury Dave Meltzer route. That's easy. That's easy money, man.
Real easy money. I mean, we could grow a lot faster.
If we just said this dirt sheet idiot, he doesn't know anything.
Although, that's not even true. Well, I don't want to get into our Vince Russo spat.
Right. Well, yeah. Dear God, please don't, because someone's going to clip it, and one of these Russo idiots are going to be in our mentions, and I don't really want that to happen. So,
but the one area of Dave's analysis over the last month that I do agree with is what you have to be careful of is doing too much of any one thing. Okay, if every segment of the show is a mega heat segment, then people are going to go numb to it.
Sure.
Or the ones that you really need to draw aren't going to register with people. In my opinion, though, and I review Dynamite every week in excruciating detail, $5 tier. Patreon.com/Voice of Wrestling, Thursday TV reviews, MLW Fusion, Ratings Talk, Dynamite. And I review this show every week. In my opinion, they haven't crossed that line. There may have been 1 week where they teetered on the brink of doing too much of this stuff. Otherwise, I think the show has been exciting. I think it's been action-packed. And Rich, what is this idea all of a sudden that we don't want things to happen on our wrestling shows?
I hate it. Yeah, I hate it. Well, what
is wrong with these people?
Well, we're going to talk about with the releases too, but we had a lot of people today where people were like, "Hey, Samoa Joe would be awesome if he wrestled this guy." People were like, "Hey, somebody lost their job today, so maybe don't start." Including Ricky Shane Page. I'll bury his ass later.
Yeah, but he already lost the job. We're not
right?
Saying,
who cares? Right?
It'd be different if people were saying, I hope Samoa Joe gets fired because I want to see him wrestle whoever the fuck.
Right. Whether I want him to be in a G1 or not is irrelevant. The man lost his job regardless today. So who cares at that point?
Right. So now because he's available, how is that like classless or,
I don't know.
or uncouth? It'd be one thing if we're out there going, God, I hope they fire Daniel Bryan and fucking stop paying that man. But that's not what anyone's doing.
I hope they fired Buddy Murphy too, if while we're at it. Our fellow countryman Buddy Murphy, but yeah, no, exactly. But
that's not what anyone's doing.
But people are such dorks. I don't understand. Yeah, we don't like action. We don't like blood. We don't like factions. We don't like angles. We don't like heat. We don't like to be worked. We don't like dream matches. I don't know what wrestling fans like these days anymore.
Rich, you typically aren't on Twitter during Dynamite. I don't know what you're doing. You're probably hanging out with your wife or something. But I don't know if you noticed, but during any given Dynamite, there are real, actual tweets from wrestling fans watching the show that say things like, another beatdown. I can't, they did another angle. I can't believe they did another. What are you doing? What are you saying? Like, do you really want, listen, if you want a show where there's no more than 10 people on the screen during the 2 hours, and one person comes out with a microphone and talks very slowly into the mic for 18 minutes. And then a second person comes out on the stage with the microphone and talks back for another 7 minutes. And they set up their match for hour 2. There's a couple different places you can go to get that.
I was going to say, the National Wrestling Alliance will take your money for sure if you're into boring ass shows where nothing happens. So.
Hey, Monday Night Raw is right up your alley.
Monday Night Raw is free. If you want to give NWA $10 every week, they have a show that nothing happens ever. That's a good option.
Look, I agree with the idea that you can't overload.
Of course.
I just disagree that that's what they've done. I think the shows feel overloaded versus all of this other shit where nothing ever happens. You know what I mean? It's like, but that doesn't necessarily mean that just compared to Raw and SmackDown where nothing ever happens, or NWA where nothing ever happens, that means that the shows are overdoing it and deluging their viewers with shit where it's too much to comprehend.
Right,
I don't buy it. I never bought it, and I do not buy it.
And especially, like, you know, people will bring up the comps of, like, oh, this reminds me of, like, Russo and Attitude Era. Like, honestly, go back and watch that shit. No, it doesn't. Like it doesn't. It couldn't be any further from what that stuff is. Those were 2-minute matches that would end with 10 guys running in, another segment, boom, boom, boom. I mean, they're manic, those shows.
This is so far removed from fucking the Attitude Era. It's nothing like that.
Well, 18-minute matches are happening. Amazing 18-minute matches are happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, it couldn't be any further from the Attitude Era. So
it's complete opposite. If anything, the matches on Dynamite are too long.
Too long. I would agree. Yeah, I would agree that they're way too long.
You know, that's the argument. So I have no idea what these people. It's just.
I don't know why they watch wrestling.
You know what it is? Dynamite is just. It's just so different than what it always comes back to this point. And people are probably bored of hearing it. But it's just that Dynamite is so different than Raw and SmackDown in some of these ways that people, they can't, after 2 decades of WWE-style presentation, some people just cannot wrap their heads around it.
They don't know any better. They just don't know any better. And
it's different, so it must be bad. It's different, it has to be wrong. It's different, it's going to lose viewers. It's different. They just cannot wrap their heads around it. You
can't deviate from the great formula that WWE has produced that has lost ungodly amounts of viewers over the last 10 years. You got to do that formula because that's how professional wrestling is done, even though for decades and decades and decades it was not done that way at all. And only one company does it that way. But yeah, there we go.
And they haven't adjusted. I mean, at one time this was a good way to do TV, and they were thriving and everything else, but it's the same show they've been doing for 15 years, and that's part of the big issue with them. But listen, did you hear, change gears a little bit, did you listen to the Nick Khan interview on the Colin Cowherd podcast?
So I haven't yet. I have it reserved. I was going to listen to today, and then something came up, but no, but go on. So, I have not listened to it yet.
This isn't the Colin Cowherd radio show. He also has a podcast. So if anyone wants to find it, you have to search for the Colin Cowherd podcast. This is on the Colin Cowherd podcast network that has the Renee Paquette show. What's her show called? Oral Sessions.
Oral Sessions, yes.
Which he noted, by the way, is their number one show on their podcast network is Oral Sessions. Not the number one show on the Colin Cowherd podcast network is not the Colin Cowherd podcast.
I was going to say, that's not, is that good? That's probably not that good, is it? So
he was touting it as good. Him and Nick Khan were going on and on about it.
Well, good for him. Hey, give us a call, by the way, Colin, for listening. Give us a call. We're up for sale for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, but anyway,
emails on the website. Contact at voicesofwrestling.com. So
he had Nick Khan on, and first of all, his new name is Big Dick Nick. Okay, you can tell within 30 seconds of this interview that this is a badass motherfucker who you do not want to negotiate with. Number one, and number two, gets what he wants. He's just an alpha. Like, have you ever met anybody? I don't know. Like I've met various people in my lines of work that were 10 steps above my chain of command. And sometimes they walk in the room and you're like, this doofus tells me what to do. This guy, like, he doesn't have a clue. Like, I have to pretend that this guy's smarter than me. But sometimes somebody will walk in the room and you'll be like, oh, I'm intimidated.
Yeah.
This guy knows his shit. This guy, I cannot bullshit him the way I bullshit my other bosses. He knows his shit. He has a commanding presence. He's going to call me on my bullshit. And I have a lump in my throat right now. Sometimes you meet a person like that, you know, in whatever line of work you're in. That's Nick Khan. This motherfucker, he's Big Dick Nick. You can see how he walks in a room when you listen to this interview and just get shit done.
You're going to give me $1 billion for this steaming pile of shit, and you're going to like it. And they say, yes, sir. Here's $1 billion. Can we please have that bag of steaming pile of shit? Thank you.
It's just the confidence he speaks with and the knowledge that he has. He makes some great predictions for the next 5 years. He anticipates that your Amazons and your Googles and your are going to buy the networks within the next half decade or so, because he just doesn't see the networks able to compete with these far, bigger. This is what we've talked about, when the streaming wars are in their second stage right now, right? That's kind of the same thing he was talking about with Coward, where eventually they're going to eat each other, and he thinks those are going to be the winners. And he does get in and talk about wrestling. But what I wanted to circle this back to is, Colin Coward kept saying, in wrestling, how do you know when a good guy needs to become a bad guy? Or in wrestling, who do you view as the next frontier in terms of a region of the world? And Khan had to correct him and say, Colin, we don't even use that term. It's not wrestling. It's sports entertainment. And we aren't a wrestling company. He flat out said this. He said, we aren't a wrestling company. We're a content company. And that's what we've been screaming about for how long? That's coming from the guy that works directly below Vince McMahon. They're just a content company. So they're going to keep sending people out there with that microphone to cut 18-minute promos because it does not fucking matter. Okay? Because then they're just going to cut those promos up and use them for their pay-per-view package. That's all it is.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what they're for. Yeah, I know Wwe from Post Wrestling has been on that for years. Is that the promos are essentially just B-roll for video packages, and when you listen to them and you understand them with that idea, they don't mean anything. They're just they're just, and that's why every single time the Roman Reigns this Sunday at WrestleMania, I'm gonna prove to you that it's just all in the same cadence, the same everything. Yeah, it's a content factory.
Yeah, and he flat out said, he goes, hey, look, we're not a tech company. It made no sense for us to have a streaming service. So the first thing that I was tasked to do was to sell it to a tech company who could handle it. Now we wash our hands of it. Was basically what he was, that weren't his exact words, but again, the same things that we've been saying. Like, he's like, what the hell were we doing trying to run a streaming service? That's not what we do.
Right.
We produce content.
We produce the content and then sell it for lots of money to other people.
Right. And he goes, I walk in a room and I know what I think it's worth, and until they offer it, I'm not, I'm
I love it. I kind of like this guy.
I'm telling you, when you listen to this, you're gonna have such an appreciation for this motherfucker. And Coward sets it up so well because he used to be Colin Coward's agent, Nick Khan, so he knows him. So when the podcast starts, Coward, he sets it up first and introduces he explains to people who he is. He goes, Nick Khan is the kind of guy who you would see hanging around with Tony Soprano on The Sopranos. He looks like that.
Now he's your guy.
Like that. Right. He walks like that. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, whatever. This is Colin Coward likes to bloviate. But then the podcast starts and the interview begins, and you're infatuated by this man's confidence, and you just immediately get the sense that this is not someone to fuck with at the negotiating table or otherwise. I was blown away by I was impressed with how intelligent he was, how forward-thinking he was, how he went on this great rant about sleep.
I was going to say, he doesn't sleep either, right?
He doesn't sleep. Well, Here's the thing. It's not just that he doesn't sleep. Being tired is a weakness.
Yeah. Vince loves this dude. Oh my God, does Vince McMahon love this guy?
This was so great. He was like, no, he said, no one fucking cares that you're tired in life. No one, and he's right, isn't he? He's right. He's like, no one gives a shit that you are tired. He goes, think about the most successful people you know. Do they walk around telling you how tired they are? And I sat there in awe of this. I'm like, he's right. No one gives a fuck that you're tired. And people who constantly complain that they're tired usually aren't very successful. This, I'm telling you, this podcast was like the best motivational speech I've ever had. I came out of this thing determined to do a better job at this fucking website, with this podcast, with the job, with the family. I'm like, I aspire to be Big Dick Nick. But anyway, Rich, you got to go listen to that. It's a must listen.
I didn't know that this is what he looked like. Yeah, he looks like a Don too, man. Yeah, I don't want to. If this guy walked by me on the street, I don't know what I would do. I see why he walks into rooms and goes, "Hey, you're gonna give me $1 billion for this shit, or I'm not leaving." And he gets the $1 billion. Yeah, Wrestling Observer first ballot Hall of Famer. I think Nick Khan. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm in. So
what you can skip is Stephanie on the Bill Simmons
podcast. Oh God, yes. Don't worry about that. Yeah, don't worry.
Well, I was told to listen to that, and I did, and it's nothing but fluff and garbage, and there's nothing.
Platitudes you're not gonna get and branding, and that's.
You will no. In all seriousness, though, you will learn something from Big Dick Nick. You will listen to that, and you will come away from that podcast thinking, first of all, it's going to hurt your self-esteem. It hurt my self-esteem, first of all.
You're just thinking of all the times you've wasted in your life.
I could never be as successful as this human, number one. And number two, it's going to motivate you to just be better at life. Like, this guy is he just has that thing that some people have. And it came through even on audio form. But you definitely, in all seriousness, though, you will learn something about the media business and the wrestling business. He does talk about working with Vince McMahon and those sorts of things. Calling Vince McMahon at any hour and Vince answering the phone, which led into the do you sleep conversation, So he says he can call Vince at 2 a.m. And sometimes Vince will answer and say, I can't talk right now, I'm busy.
I'm busy. That's incredible.
Right. But always get that.
You didn't wake me up. No, I'm busy doing something. Yeah, that's incredible. So
yeah. So anyway, well worth your time on that. But that's the rate. I guess we got to talk about these cuts, right?
Yeah, let's do that. Before we do that, though, I do want to let you know this episode of the Voice of Wrestling Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at MyBookie. And March Madness is done. WrestleMania is done. I did not win my bet on Logan Paul, but that is okay because there is plenty of stuff to bet on MyBookie. You got NBA odds, MLB odds, PGA odds. How'd the Masters go for you, Joe? Did you have I don't remember the guy's name that won. Did you have him bet at all?
No, I laid low. I didn't bet on the Masters.
Bet on him. You got Jake Paul. If you really want to get into Paul betting, there's another great week. I did Logan Paul last week. I don't know that I'm betting on Jake Paul this week, but if you want to bet on Jake Paul, you can do that. Bellator, NHL, MLS is starting, NASCAR, Formula One. It is all on there at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use that promo code VOICES. You get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Use that promo code VOICES at mybookie.ag. You get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. As we said, NBA, MLB, PGA, boxing, UFC, Bellator, NHL, MLS, NASCAR, Formula One. It is all on there. All the sports betting is available at mybookie.ag. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Promo code VOICES to get that deposit bonus up to $1,000. Free money. You put $500 in, they're going to put $500 in, so you cannot beat that. Free money. And yeah, you have the opportunity to bet on back-to-back Pauls. I don't know. I don't know about Jake Paul and his boxing acumen, but
he's favored.
Is he favored? Ben Askren he's a dude, right? Or used to be a dude.
Askren's a ground fighter. He is known for having no stand-up.
Ah, okay. And this is a pure boxing match then, right?
Is a boxing match. Ben Askren is the guy that for years Dana White used to shit on and say that he would never hire him because he's the most boring fighter on earth.
Okay.
He's a lay and pray guy.
Got it. Okay. I'm aware of the name, but I knew nothing of his fighting style. So there we go. Okay.
He's a lay and pray guy, but he's also very charismatic and talks a lot of shit. And eventually he did end up in UFC, and he lost the quickest knockout in UFC history and then retired. So Jake Paul is a slight favorite. Now they're running you can get odds. They're running a special, MyBookie, on this fight. You can they're running a boosted odds on Askren. So if you like Askren, you can get him at plus 200.
There you go. Oh, I see that right now. I'm looking at it right now. That's not bad. 2-1 odds boost on Askren. That's not bad.
Yeah, there's an odds boost there. So if you like but it's $10 minimum bet. But they always have minimum bets on those odds boosts. They're running another promotion too. If you're a UFC bettor, if you bet at least $20 on the Paul Askren fight, it doesn't matter what wager, they're going to give you free $20 to wager on UFC 261. So
free money, more free money from those guys at MyBookie. Jeez.
More free money, yeah. Jeez. So if you bet at least $20 on Askren, Paul, and that includes if you bet the $10 and take that odds boost, then just bet another $10 on the fight in some other form or fashion. You get a free $20 to bet on UFC 261. So good time to join MyBookie with the promo code. What is it, Rich?
VOICES. Promo code VOICES. Get the deposit match up to $1,000.
All kinds of free money.
Free money. I'm looking at Academy Awards odds, Razzies Awards. You want to bet on the Razzies? Those are bad movies, right? Bet on the
Razzies.
Worst film of the year and stuff. Yeah. That's not bad. Yeah, that's some pretty fun stuff to do here. Aussie rules football. You got U.S. politics is on there too. What are the current U.S. politics? Oh, they're like U.S. presidential odds for 2024. That might be a little early to jump into that, but if you want, you can do it at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Promo code VOICES to do all of that. All right.
Rich, if you want to be a real cheapskate grinder, and I know you are.
Yes, go on. I'm listening. I'm listening.
I could tell you how to win guaranteed money on Paul Askren.
Okay, what can I do?
Okay, so follow me here. You got the odds boost.
I'm literally doing it right now as you're talking, so go ahead. Even though I got fucked over on that Logan Paul, he really should have went through that table, but that's okay.
You get some of it back. you got the odds boost on Askren plus 200, right?
Right. Okay.
So you can bet that if you bet the $10 max on that.
Okay.
Okay. Now follow me. Then what you do is you bet $19 on Paul, who's minus 180.
Okay.
This guarantees you a payout because if Askren wins, you're going to win $20 and lose 19 on Paul. You're plus $1, right? If Paul wins, it's minus 180, so it pays like 10.56, and you lose the 10 on Askren, and you're plus 56 cents. So Rich,
this might be. I have Rich, a penny pincher, but this is pretty tough for me to.
You cheap ass grinder, you can guarantee.
That's yourself a hell of a grind. Oh man, it's tempting. It's tempting.
Listen, it's a free 56 cents at minimum.
Yeah, 56 cents or $1 I could win here is what you're telling me. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. And so I do have free play. I got free play from my bookie as well. So, I can really turn this into a little bit of money.
If you waste your free play on winning 56 cents, you deserve to be strangled.
Right.
This is what you do with free plays. You play like an 8-team MLB parlay and shoot for the moon.
Right.
Because it's free money. So, but anyway, you can guarantee yourself 56 cents. Rich, if you make both of those bets that I just laid out, on Saturday night, you can get in your easy chair, kick back, crack open one of your dopey craft brew beers, and watch the fight and say, I am making easy money.
Yeah, crack the knuckles and yes.
That's right. I don't care who wins this one.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, you probably couldn't hear it. I tried to do it closer to the mic, but I went, as I crack my knuckles and put them behind my head and go, I'm going to be at least 56 cents richer today. So
No, in all seriousness, though, I did bet the $10 on Askren because you know what? If I have an opportunity to take a professional fighter and get the odds boost.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why not? It's $10. Who cares? So, but listen, if someone out there is a cheap-ass grinder, you can do what I just said and guarantee yourself that minimum.
I like it. You can win no matter what. I actually, that does work for me a little bit because I'm one of those people when I've gone to Vegas or when I've gone to casinos, I just go and play roulette. Because you can play roulette for like 3 hours. And I basically just do it to have fun. Like, I don't really care. I don't really want to win. But you can get some, you have some nice drinks, you're hanging out, you're having fun, I don't care. So it's black, red, I'll try and even. Okay, no, back to black, red, even. Like, you can stay there for 2 hours doing roulette. As long as you don't get too fancy and too cute with it, you can have a lot of fun. So I always enjoy that.
Yeah, you can milk $200 at the roulette table for hours. You're
right. If you're just trying to like hang out, you're on a date or something like that, or you're with the wife and you just kind of want to have fun and drink and be in an atmosphere of a casino. Yeah, you could do. Yeah, that is the game because I am not very interested in actually winning money at a casino, and I'm very certain I'm probably going to lose that money. So yeah, it's a good way to go to a casino and not have to leave in 20 minutes going, okay, well, I don't know, like I don't know how to play Mississippi Stud. I don't know how I thought I could play it. Now I have no money. So.
Mississippi Stud. Right. Yeah, some exotic game.
Right.
Rich is playing like the Chinese tiles up in
the mahjong. I'm playing mahjong.
He's like, I don't know how this works, but here I am. Baccarat. He's up there playing Baccarat with various sheiks who just flew in on an airplane. He's playing Baccarat with those guys. Rich is the kind of guy. He'll sit at that roulette table. He'll put down his $200. First of all, there's no chance he's losing that whole 200. He's got a number in his head.
Absolutely.
Rich is saying, as soon as this gets to 120, I'm out. But he has a number on the other side. Tell me if I'm right. You have a number on the other side, too. You're like, if this gets to 280, I'm out. And then dinner's free tonight.
Yep. That's No, what I do is I go to a casino. You're absolutely right. What I do is I go to a casino and I have an idea of something that I want to purchase. Say something in my head that I want to purchase. One of my famous ones is that I was with my parents at the Potawatomi Casino in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is right next to Miller Park or whatever the fuck it's called now, American Family Insurance Park or whatever the hell. And I told myself what I want to do is if I go in there and I win money, I want to win enough to buy a Ricky Weeks shirt jersey. Remember Ricky Weeks?
I remember Ricky Weeks. Red's killer.
Absolutely. So what I said is I have a figure in my head. I know it's like probably $30 or $40 to buy this Ricky Weeks shirt jersey and some other, Brewers paraphernalia. So when I get to that amount, I'm out. And I went to some slot machine, gave me $50. I said, boom, cash out, I'm out. And I chilled the rest of the day until I could go across that parking lot to Miller Park to buy my Ricky Weeks shirt jersey, which I still have to this day. So
Rich hit 3 double bars on that slot.
I was out. See ya.
and said, give me my ticket. He cashed it out, and he went and bought his shirtsy.
Yep. And by the way, this happened like 3 minutes into us being there, and I was just like, no, I got what I wanted. I'm good. I'm out.
But you had a hot machine.
I left. So.
No. You know what else? Like cheapskates like you grinders can do. You find a penny slot and just put like a $50 bill in it.
Love the penny slots. Yeah, I don't want to, because I don't think I'm good. I just want to kind of hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sip on some drinks, just kind of enjoy the atmosphere. I'm not going to buy out my house. I'm not going to fucking pay my mortgage off there. I mean, some people might be trying to do that. I'm just trying to have a good time and sip some whiskey or whatever. You know, that's what I'm there for. Yeah. Penny slots are solid. Roulette I find a little more exciting than the penny slots, because, you know, there's a lot of anticipation, because it takes like, 5 minutes just to get the roulette game going. You know what I mean? Everybody gets their money. They go, oh, okay, let me see it. And I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And it's like a black. You know what I mean? Like, there's no decision to be made for me whatsoever. But everybody does it. Everyone's got to have everything right. The guy does the little hand thing to say, okay, these are the final bets. And yeah, so you can really get a lot of time playing roulette. I enjoy that much.
No more bets.
Yeah.
No more bets.
And even then, it's like 2 minutes, because he's got to get the ball. He's got to drop the ball. The ball bounces. Like, it's a lot of fun. Whereas a penny slot, you hit one button, ding, 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 and you're done. Like, you can blow through $100 real quick.
The packed roulette table. The other thing, when a roulette table's packed, somebody hits every spin. And normally, so then they've got to drag all the chips off the table, pay out all the winners with these complicated bets. Someone has it on a corner. Someone has it between two.
right.
Someone has a third of the board. So it can.
Or a guy puts
slow.
something, and the guy has to ask him, "Hey, what is this bet? Like, what do you want it on this, or did you mean to put it here?" That's a classic one too.
Yeah, so it's a very slow moving game when it's a packed game. So you really can milk $100 or $200 or $300 for a very long time. The penny slots are funny because you like throw a $50 bill in there or whatever, and you have like 1 million fucking credits because it's, and then you're like, oh man, I'm down like 30,000 credits. I better cash out. Then the ticket comes out and you have 47.50. And you're like, man, I should have just sat here.
Right.
I lost $2.50. Right. But it's like, because it's pennies and it doesn't register in your brain that you're not fucking losing anything, or you hit a big, the other side of the coin. You hit the big jackpot.
You cash out and it's $137. And you're like, oh man.
Yeah, what the fuck
the
was
thing
this?
goes off for 20 minutes. It's got, fucking fireworks going off. You're like, whoa.
Rates are going off.
Whoa, what did I get?
You're
Ding,
like,
ding,
I'm
ding,
cashing
ding,
out.
ding, 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 ding.
And you cash out and you're like, I won $6. What the fuck is happening?
Right.
Yeah, fucking waste of my time. But as far as if you just want to sit there and get free drinks and hang out, that's the move.
That's me. That's me for sure. So.
Yeah.
And my favorite casino game is to watch my friends lose money. That's one of my other favorites too. I drink whiskey while they play games, and I make fun of them while they're doing it. So
you know what they call that, Rich?
What do they call that?
Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
That's what they call that. Did you know that?
I did. I was aware.
You knew that?
My homeland. Yeah, my homeland. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, give you a little. We talk about the Italians a lot. I figured I'd get the Germans in the mix.
Yeah. Well, people got mad when I said Indian style a few weeks ago, and then I had to, tell them.
Why would you say it again?
I'm quarter Cherokee, so I'm allowed to.
No, that you can't.
Is that not true? Is that not true? Okay.
No. Maybe in 1998 you could pull that off.
Damn. All right.
No, you're still canceled, and now you're canceled again because you said it again.
Oh well. That's it.
So yeah,
you got to get out of the way. As you always said, the best thing to do is just kind of get canceled early, and then you can kind of be post cancellation, and then so maybe it's my time for just get it out of the way now, and then It
happens to me all the time because people will be like, "Did you hear what Joe Lanza said?" And
like, I got canceled in 2013, boy.
And then the other people are like, "What, in 2015?"
Yeah,
and then it's like, then whatever I said loses all impact when they're like, "No, he said last week that some women's wrestler sucks," and then they're like, "Oh, well, big deal." We canceled him 8 years ago.
Right. He's already on the list. He's already made the list, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Yeah, I was canceled a long time ago, and we're 10 times bigger and more successful than we were then. So it doesn't really fucking matter, and you get it out of the way, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So I see the strategy you're employing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially before we bury a lot of people at WrestleMania weekend. But
oh god, here it comes.
But anyway, let's talk about the WWE releases. People that will have to go to casinos to, of course, pay their mortgages or put food on the table here. The release. Black Thursday Part 2, exact same day, April 15th was last year's big releases. We did a show about it, a very successful show. People were way into that show that we did. And unfortunately, we have to do it again here this week. But I'm pretty excited about a few of these names here. So the top name, of course, Samoa Joe. We'll kind of go over every one of these individual. I'll just kind of go over the names right now. Samoa Joe, Billy Kay, Payton Royce, Mickie James, Chelsea Green, Tucky, old Tucker, Kalisto, Bo Dallas, Wesley Blake, and Mojo Rawley is who we have right now. I will try to refresh on Twitter and see if anybody else, but I do not think anybody else is yet. So obviously the first one that we're going to have to talk about here is Samoa Joe. And what right now kind of first blush reaction to Samoa Joe being released and what sort of expectations do you have for the post-WWE career of Samoa Joe?
Well, Samoa Joe isn't what he was, but Samoa Joe isn't Samoa Joe because of what Samoa Joe did in 2020. Samoa Joe is Samoa Joe because of what Samoa Joe did when he was Samoa Joe. Okay, he's not Samoa Joe, the same Samoa Joe that he is now, but he was the Samoa Joe then, and that's why he's Samoa Joe. So you're not worried about what Samoa Joe is now versus what Samoa Joe was then.
Is this a bit that I'm not in on? What's going on here?
It is a bit, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I don't know what it is. I have no idea what's going on.
Savvy listeners may recognize that parody bit that I just did.
All right, go
and
ahead.
I don't feel... See, I can't do the parody bit and then tell you what it's
No, please don't. Please don't. I just want to make sure I'm not in on it, right? I don't know what this is.
That's the same as saying a joke and then being like, did you hear what I said, T? I said,
yeah.
I don't want to explain the joke as soon as I say the joke.
Please don't. I just want to make sure I want the listeners to know that I have no idea what Joe's doing, but he knows what he's doing. So.
Well, listen, that was a parody bit, but it's also the truth. Samoa Joe's not Samoa Joe because of Samoa Joe now. Samoa Joe is Samoa Joe because of who Samoa Joe was.
Right.
So so we all recognize that it's not the same Samoa Joe today, but I do think he has value. And if I'm AEW, I'm on the phone tomorrow and asking him when the first day he's free to work for my company. I will find a use for Samoa Joe.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah. Whether it's a commentator, whether it's in ring, and I know a lot of people, and what I loved, and we always talk about this, when a guy gets released, it's always about that first tweet that they put out, the first public thing they put out, and Samoa Joe right off the bat, he's tweeting about how hungry and all this sort of stuff, and he's making jokes with CM Punk and all this. I'm excited about this. I don't know what it's going to be. I have no idea, but it's something, man. You know what I mean? There's something. This guy feels like he has something. I hope that he has something. I'm down to see whatever this is because, like you said, it's still Samoa fucking Joe, even though he's not what he was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or whatever. But it's still fucking Samoa Joe, and I see value for any company in the world, any company in the universe, whether it's New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW. Anybody has a use for somebody like a Samoa Joe, whether it's to work a few times a year, whether it's to train guys, whether it's as an announcer. Like this guy, he will not be unemployed very long, and I'm positive that he's pretty much already got calls, or he's already made calls as well. And he's a guy that seems to love the wrestling business. So I'm very, very excited to see what ends up happening with Samoa Joe here pretty soon. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think he can ever go back to being a full-time wrestler. But I know we say that, but I don't know. I mean, Christian was fucking dead, you know what I mean? It was like this guy was never going to wrestle again, and Daniel Bryan wasn't clear, and Edge wasn't clear, and all these guys are back and doing stuff. So it's all about the schedule, and it's all about where you're at, and it's all about where your body's at this point too. So I don't know, but yeah, there's one of the all-time greats. Somebody will figure out something to do with Samoa Joe, and he will not be unemployed for very long. That I'm positive of. Now, the Iconics, that's a different story here. We're doing... Okay, maybe I'll get canceled here. Do we have to pretend that Billie Kay is good, or can we just say that she's terrible?
I mean, she found a niche with the resume thing, and she's got some comedic timing. Look, these two people stink as far as wrestlers
They're terrible. I mean, we don't have to pretend they're good. You can just say, and that's the problem that
Well, hold on now, Rich. Hold on. It's been a couple of weeks, but we have a run-in.
Uh-oh.
All right, what's going on?
What's up?
Come here, Nolan. What's up? Come here, bud. He's got his
You're a biscuit, Dada.
I'm what?
Biscuit. No, I'm a biscuit.
Oh, she's feeding them lines, and he's blowing the line.
You're a biscuit?
So,
is that what I'm hearing?
I don't know what he's got. The Buzz Lightyear gimmick here. You got your Buzz Lightyear? Yeah, you getting ready to go to bed?
Yep,
tuck it in. All right. Anything else? You blew the line. You guys came in here with a bit, and he blew the line. So It's like now it fell flat. Now they're both embarrassed.
I think it was a biscuit. Was it? You're a biscuit? Is that?
I don't know what the hell he was saying. What were you saying? Come here, you little dope. Come here. What were you saying? What were you trying to say?
They like it. It's working in that room.
Best kid.
You're the best kid? It's very cocky of you.
Wow.
There's no kids better than you, huh? You think that's true? Really? What are your comparison points? Do you have any data points here to back this up? No? You really think you're the best kid?
Try to thirst and explain this child.
Here's the thing. The thing is, you only know like 6 kids. So you're like, what do you... I don't know. I would dispute that. I don't know how cool you are. You think he's cool? Yeah. All right. Well, okay. That was tremendous. I noticed you're wearing your Mickey Mouse mummy pajamas. More of a Halloweenish pajama, but,
it is, but
I'll let it pass.
It's a little outside, so we're going to wear them.
Okay. All right. I don't know about wearing the Halloween pajamas in April, but I go with a more of an April pajama.
Hey, next Halloween.
So this is like the last chance to wear them?
You can wear them. They're long sleeve.
You know what I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to say, well, if you don't like the pajamas he's wearing, why don't you get off your ass and put the pajamas on him instead of me putting the pajamas, right?
It's been a process.
Yeah.
Baths, dinner, brushing of the teeth.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's ready to
I
talk.
need a soda.
You know what? I do need a soda, actually.
Wow. Look at that. Nice.
No, I'm not giving him that. He asked me if I...
That's what he wants.
Oh, he wants mine. No, you can't have that. There's too much.
No.
There's too much. Let him have a sip. Come here. You want a sip? Here, let him have a sip. He likes the Coke Z. Take a sip of it. Look at the smile on his face. Look at this.
He's very excited.
He looks like Nikolai Volkov coming into the 88 Royal Rumble. He looks like,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous. Like, he's gonna be, oh yeah.
Look at that smile. Rich, you remember Nikolai Volkov in the 88 Royal Rumble? That
I
big
do.
shitty grin on his face? That's what he looks like when I said you want a sip of this soda. All right, well, I got a show to do, so you're going to hit the bricks. Take your mother with you. What do you mean?
No, put him in. No, he's a full. Yeah, you're out, Joe. I'm going to talk to Nolan. Let me talk about...
All right.
I got to plug a mic in here? Oh, he stuck his tongue at me and he's leaving. I deserve that. I think that's fair, honestly. Yeah. All right, well, I'll see you in the morning. Actually, I won't because I don't get up that early and you'll be gone. But that's right. All right. And
There we
that's
go.
that. They came in here with a bit and they blew it. And
Yeah,
then
so
they didn't
I
know
am
what
the
to do.
best kid is what... I thought it was biscuit, but I am the best kid, apparently.
Yeah. Not good.
People are saying, Dustin in the chat room says Little Miro here with the best kid gimmick going on.
Yeah, true,
And just like Miro had bombed tremendously, so that's...
Absolutely. Yeah, he bombed worse than Miro.
Yeah,
It was
like a
terrible.
mid-card Nolan
Yeah.
over there, so that's
Because he couldn't get the line off, and then whatever they had planned just
it just fell
collapsed
apart.
like
It
a
fell
house
apart
of
from
cards.
there. Yeah, it fell apart from
Right.
there. And then not even, I'll be honest, it's good news head a little bit. Not even a Coke Z delivery, can I have your Coke Z? Sip,
Yes.
and he's out.
He's out. Yeah, he's
Wow.
out. He
Quite the difference from literally getting it served on a silver platter, weeks ago. Here you go, Dad.
What can I tell you what happened? I got in trouble.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna tell you what happened. There hasn't been a run-in in a few weeks. You know why? Because they listened to the last show with the run-in because they like to listen back to hear themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was the one where we went on and on about how they were burning out the territory.
Yeah.
So then one day,
Do they know what burning out the territory means?
well, listen, if you live with me, you know these things.
Okay,
So,
all right.
So one day I'm coming to bed and it casually came up and Brittany goes, "Oh, don't worry, we won't be interrupting your show anymore."
Oh, the
like-
passive aggressiveness. My God.
And I was like, "Why?" I didn't understand. I was like, "Whoa, why not?" I was like, "It's it's fun. The listeners enjoy it." She's like, "Because we're apparently burning out the territory."
Oh, man.
And I was caught. I had nothing to say. Like, what can I say? I was like, all right, you know what? You got me. You caught me. She's like, well, you know what? We're cute and people enjoy us. But if you don't want us coming
Damn right.
in, then fine. Then if we're not appreciated and wanted, and that's why for like the last 3 weeks there's been no running.
Wow,
So,
they lost
that
their
was-
smile in a certain term. TLB lost
They
their
lost their
smile.
smile.
Yeah.
I guess they're back from the Bob Geigel, Kansas territory though. And listen, you can only work with Bulldog Bob Brown for so many weeks before I would get tired of it as well. So I don't blame them for getting the hell out of that. It's terrible territory. So now apparently they're back. So we had a run in today. But you think what percentage of our listeners understood that Bulldog Bob Brown reference and know that he was a terrible worker?
We have 76 people listening right now. Maybe 7 or 8, I would say, at most.
Yeah, but so you say about 10%.
Yeah, I'd say about 10%. Grant Akuma's probably listening somewhere and enjoying
out of
it,
the thousands and thousands that will listen later. You think?
Still, I'd stick around the 10% there. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
That one I only barely get as well. So yeah, it's a tough one.
He's a terrible wrestler. I mean, he's just the worst. Bulldog Bob Brown, terrible. I think he's on. Nobody cares. What were we talking about?
I think we're talking about Bulldog Bob Brown. Yeah.
I mean, I could start talking about Bulldog Bob Brown if you want, but I don't think you want to.
Did he? Was he the guy that had the Unitas haircut? He had like the sweet Johnny Unitas, like.
He did, yeah.
Like perfectly cut off the top, but also looked like he was like 67 years old at certain times.
Yeah, he worked Central States for a long time.
Okay.
I think he was Canadian. And then, he worked for that, like in that Geigel region, against Harley Race and all those guys. And he was just a terrible wrestler. He just was awful. Like that wasn't the best territory, that Kansas territory for action,
No, yeah.
Really not much tape of that out there either. But
I think so. We were burying the Iconics here, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce.
Is that what we were doing?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I was saying that we don't have to pretend that they're good. You could just say, hey, good comedy act. They could probably land somewhere and be a fun comedy act. But now we have to, decide that they're actually great workers and that what a great asset they're going to be to whatever company they end up arriving at and stuff. And we just don't have to do that. Like we just don't have to pretend that Billy Kay and Peyton Royce are good wrestlers. It's okay. They were good. The gimmick was fine. Like it's okay. But we don't have to pretend that they're like this tremendous blow to WWE that oh man, they just didn't know what they had in Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. I mean, I think they'll be okay.
Well, we were our stance was always the same. Look, if they're going to be a prelim comedy team, that's fine. But the problem was they won the tag team titles at WrestleMania, and quite honestly, those tag team titles have never recovered.
No, have been a joke since. Yeah,
and we said at the time, you're killing these titles.
Oh, I forgot about that article I wrote, and oh my god, our mentions for a month were terrible. I forgot about that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, I don't know what their future holds. It's just if the right person in the room sees value in them, I wouldn't be stunned if they end up in AEW. I mean, it's all about the right person in the room thinking that there's something there. And Billy Kay did, to her credit, get over as much as we can tell someone is getting over with no fans doing the comedy stuff on her own. So Peyton Royce basically disappeared. She cut the classic, shoot, I'm not being used well enough promo. It went nowhere. And Billy Kay was really the one that, at least remained visible because of her comedy timing and all of that. But do I personally have any use for these two? I mean, not really. Could I see them in Impact, like doing their old act? Yeah, of course.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's a place for them in wrestling. There's definitely a place for them somewhere, but yeah.
Just hopefully not a place that I watch.
Exactly. Yeah, hopefully it's somewhere I don't watch or it's early in the show, so I don't have to watch it. Mickie James, any number of places. NWA seems like an obvious landing spot for Mickie James.
Right.
She gets calls. She's on the indies. She's doing something. If she wants to work, she'll be able to work anywhere. She really wants to. So,
I mean, it definitely 1-to-1 odds. She makes at least one appearance at one NWA taping, right? I mean, that's just
has to, yeah.
Because she'll probably cut him a deal. I mean, the husband's there and all that, so she's got some name value. But I don't know if that. Look, she's also pushing 40, right? So I don't know if being a full-time wrestler is something she still wants to do.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't think she's grinding.
Right?
I don't think she's grinding on the indies, but yeah, you could see her in something where it's, hey, I'll come and do a bulk taping on some days or whatever and then leave or whatever. Yeah, you could definitely see that. She's 41 years old, actually. 41 years old for.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So I mean, if she wants to wrestle, she'll find a place that'll let her wrestle.
For sure.
Whether
No
it's
doubt.
NWA, she
Yeah.
can go to Impact probably. So she's talented. I mean, she's always been talented. I always thought she's pretty good. So that one I think is up to her.
A few of the others here we'll run through pretty quickly. Chelsea Green.
I mean, there's a lot of connections there. She, Impact where she once was, plus her. Are they married? I don't think they're married.
They're engaged. They're engaged, but not married yet.
Yeah, and I think you already tweeted out like one of her old Impact T-shirts.
Yeah, she's already posting all of her old Impact gimmicks and all that sort of stuff too. So yeah,
So I mean, that's a natural land. I mean, again, that seems like an easy one. At least to pull in some paychecks, I could see her landing.
Yeah, and
there.
that's a good spot. If I'm Impact, it probably doesn't cost that much to get Chelsea Green over, and yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you? With the Cardona connection, with her past in Impact, yeah, that seems like a no brainer to me.
You see, they're doing the Cardona Myers feud. You see that?
Oh yeah.
This week on Impact, they pick each other's opponents.
Light the territory on fire, I'm sure. So that's
It was inevitable they were going to go that route.
Yeah. And I don't think she's that good, but hey, you know what? Whatever. She's got name value. She's got something. So
I think she's extremely overrated.
Very
extremely
yes.
overrated. I just don't see it.
She's
but
friendly with the right people is what I'll say, because she always finds a way to get put over, even though she's
I
fine.
think she's someone I look. Do I think it's egregious that she keeps finding a spot? No.
No. Yeah, not at all.
Any kind of difference maker or anything either. She's just I don't know. I'm kind of surprised they cut her, honestly.
Yeah, she seemed kind of like a no-brainer to just keep there and keep in NXT.
They liked her.
Yeah, exactly. They just re-signed her a few months ago, so I don't know what the hell that's all about. So,
and when she was healthy, they were pushing her.
Right.
But I guess it's just a matter of you can't stay healthy, or I don't know. And the other thing is you don't know who asked to be released. That's always
right. And that could be true for Joe. It could be true for a lot of these people that said, hey, if you're going to do another release, give me a call, because I'd be down to find something else to do with my life. So. It's a possibility there. Old Tucker. We knew when that team broke up, when Otis and Tucker, when Heavy Machinery broke up, it was only a matter of time for old Tucky. And here we are. He's going to now, Joe. He has an ability to tell his story. I don't know where or how or what story, but what do you think of Tucky? In a year's time, what are we going to say about one Tucky?
I think when they broke the team up, we literally said on this show, on the next round of cuts,
yes, he's gone for sure. Yes.
I think he's better than Otis. I mean, I've said that on the air before. I mean, when hate watching Otis made me appreciate Tucker. Like, I would watch all of these Heavy Machinery matches and be like, this Tucker's not that bad. The problem with Tucker was his look. He had that bad stringy hair, and he didn't have a real good television physique, right? And he didn't, he just didn't really pop off the screen. He really looked like an indie guy, a big indie guy. But and as far as his ability, I thought he was always more impressive than Otis to me. But they think Otis has all the charisma. So, I mean, he's a guy where I don't know. I mean, I could see him becoming like a cult favorite on the indies.
Yeah, dude, I could totally see this guy becoming like a cult favorite GCW dude, like a deathmatch guy or something like that if he really wants to. I don't know what his level of interest in outside wrestling is. I don't know his background in wrestling at all, but yeah, dude, he's kind of he looks kind of like a dirtbag, so I think he might work in dirtbag indies if he really wants to, but I don't know.
That's a heavy shit. Jeez.
No, I mean in a good way. No, I mean it in a good way. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Matthew.
He was okay. Okay,
that was the guy in the. Go ahead.
The first picture he sent out was him smoking weed, golfing in his board shorts or whatever. Yeah. Like, he's got real dirtbag energy in a good way, for sure.
I get what you're saying. Like the dirtbag energy that's going to get you booked as a dirtbag.
Exactly. Right.
I mean, you look at a guy like Matthew Justice, who was in the WWE system and didn't make it, and now he's like one of the top indie names, and it's like a cult indie guy. Like, I could totally see Tucker going down that path, but again, does he want to do that?
Right. I mean, this is like a legit college level athlete. Like, I think he graduated from Arizona State University. Does he really want to be doing light tube matches and pissing in buckets and backstage and in random indies? I don't know. I'm not sure, but he's only 30, so I don't know. I don't know what his interest level in wrestling is, but there you go.
Listen, this is a guy where I absolutely call him and say, would you like to work AEW Dark? And you take a look at him.
Oh, yeah, 6'2", 320. I mean, with a real professional background, yeah, you call them for sure and see what you got.
Yeah. And obviously went through PC training and already understands how to work television and all that. You put him on dark and you see how he fits in with the locker room. You see how he comes across on your TV. You see how, you see if he's a fit, because there could be something there with a guy like that. Not as a top line star, but as a guy on the roster who can have good matches or fill a role. Look, I'm not writing off, but he is also the kind of guy who you could easily see him disappearing, and 5 years from now we come on here and we go, hey, remember Tucker?
Right. A guy that like people try to book and he says, okay, you got to pay $5,000, and everybody goes, we're not going to pay you $5,000, and then he just never goes, he never wrestles ever again. So
yeah, and then he just fades into oblivion and he becomes a trivia question. That could easily happen too. So we'll see.
Wesley Blake, what do you have on Wesley Blake? What's your prediction for him?
Jackson Riker says a bunch of political shit, gets a bunch of heat, right? And then he ends up back on TV with a push, and this guy gets cut.
Yes, and Cutler. Every one of the Forgotten Sons, except for Jackson Riker, has been released. So.
Except for the guy who gave the other two guys heat that they didn't want. And there's something wrong with that.
It's not. It's not great. No. It's certainly not. So
and it's like. And these weren't garden variety political opinions from the guy. He said some dumb shit and he gets heat put on the whole group. They lose their push, and he's the one that keeps his job and ends up with another push. That just doesn't sit well with me. I mean, what the other two guys do? Nothing. You know what I mean? They're just in kayfabe aligned with a guy who couldn't shut the fuck up on Facebook is what it comes down to. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, it's motivation level. Does the idea of Wesley Blake being a free agent like particularly excite me? I can't say it does.
It really doesn't. Yeah,
he's a nice little worker.
Yeah, and he had a background before. He's not a straight PC guy. Like Tucker is a straight PC guy, and those guys always have a different expectation. When they go, I mean, I think he trained with Dory Funk Jr. I want to say he did some stuff like that. So I don't know. There's might be a little bit of stuff there. He's Texas based as far as I know. So, that'd be interesting to see. Obviously the Texas Indies, there are plenty of opportunities for him to work, but yeah, he'll be one where I'm like not particularly interested, but I will be kind of curious if he, he'll get calls, and whether he takes those calls or whether he takes, the bookings will be very interesting to see. I think he'd be okay, but like I don't think this is a guy that's like, oh man, here you go. Finally, Wesley Blake gets his opportunity to prove that he, I've never really seen that out of him. Obviously it's not the same as a Buddy Murphy. That would be a huge boon to anybody if Buddy Murphy got released and would do stuff. But I don't know about Wesley. He's fine, but I don't. Yeah.
You want to see Cutler and Blake wrestle The End or Iron Beast or Violence is Forever?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to buy a ticket because of that, but I won't be upset that they're on the show. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's
show. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's true of all these guys except for Samoa Joe. Are all like, yeah, they'd be good little assets. Like you're not buying a ticket because X is on the show, but they'd be a great asset to any company that they would join because they have some modicum of star power and are decent enough pro wrestlers. So yeah, especially with this indie scene being where it is. I mean, Wesley Blake and Tucker, booking them on a show you absolutely have to at least make the call and see what the value is.
This is where NWA comes in handy because some of these guys and girls can pop up on an NWA taping, cut some promos. Maybe we see a side of them that they were never able to show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, this is why I always say people like to dump on it. And I haven't thought the restart has been good at all. I think it's been terrible, honestly, but this is where NWA fits into the ecosystem quite nicely. I mean, cause you could just slide some of these people in there and they stay visible while they're waiting for their next real move, and that's of the place that NWA could occupy. And they don't even really mind because they like recycling the roster and keeping things fresh. So, we'll see how many of these people end up there.
Two names real quick then. One we'll do real quick, and then one I want to talk a little bit more about.
Yeah.
Bo Dallas. I mean, he kind of already said that.
Yeah, he's just unbelievable. It's like, David Bixenspan made a good point. Isn't it a little sleazy to put a guy on ice and send him home for 2 years, right? And then cut him? Because now you're not even fresh coming off TV. You like killed the guy's value and then cut him. How do you look at it from that standpoint? That's kind of dirty. Right?
It is dirty, yeah. And it's gotten to the point where I think even recently he's just kind of been like, I don't really care anymore. Like I don't even know what shape he's in. I don't even know. I mean, yeah, there's nothing that a Bo Dallas. I mean, there's no way that he. I don't know what he's been doing in his free time, as they've kind of basically said, hey, we're never going to use you ever again. I mean, I doubt he's out there, working in rings and working out. Like, I don't know. If I'm him, I'm probably just like, all right, whatever. I'll get my paycheck. And
I think he started a business is what he
did. Yeah, he's living on his farm with Liv Morgan. So he's kind of, hey, I think he's already kind of put wrestling behind him. So I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's probably just ready to move on from pro wrestling at this point. So
quite honestly, I hope that. Well, listen, I don't enjoy watching him at all.
No, so it's good. And it, so Joe, what does this do for Fiend lore? Because I was under the impression, Joe, I went on to the Reddit, and R Squared Circle told me that it was actually Bo Dallas that lost to Randall Orton on WrestleMania Sunday. So what do you think of that Fiend lore?
Absolute fucking.
I love, because people are like, well, what if it's Bo Dallas? Like, okay, well, if Bo Dallas grew 5 inches, got the same tattoos as his brother, and gained 175 pounds, yes, you're right. That could have been Bo Dallas that was out there instead of Bray. But it appears now that they're trying to get us off the scent, because everybody realized the Fiend lore of it being Bo Dallas. So to get everybody off the scent, they released Bo Dallas. So. Committed to the bit here. This is kind of like the loose cannon Brian Pillman thing, like, where he gets the release from Eric Bischoff type thing, where they're working the boys, you know what I mean? So
maybe that's how he got it.
Yeah, good.
Throwing him off the scent.
They're playing chess. We're all playing checkers, Joe. So Fiend lore, and then okay, that's enough about Bo Dallas. Final name here, Kalisto. Now, what do you think of Kalisto? Now, astute old school Voices of Wrestling listeners will know, and I mentioned this maybe a decade ago, as long as the show has gone on, because I, obviously local to Chicago, have seen Samurai Del Sol for years and years and years wrestle. And when he got signed by WWE, I forget exactly what the year was, 2013, 2014, somewhere in that range, I came onto the show and said, Joe, if this company doesn't find a way to make money with this guy, they're lost. They have no idea what they're doing. The star making machine is broken, because this is a guy who looks cool as fuck, can speak some English, has a cool as fuck mask, can work like crazy. I mean, they search and go out of their way to find the quote-unquote Rey Mysterio replacement, and you have fucking Kalisto show up on your doorstep, and here we are now at this point where, there was pushes, there was points, there was things, he won titles, there was lucha things, he fucked up once, and, you can't do that in this company. Right. I'm amazed that they, out of the last 8 years, or whatever the hell it's been, and how long they've had Kalisto, that we're now at this point where it's just like, man, what have you done with this guy over the last 8 years? I just can't believe that they couldn't find a way to make money with this guy.
Do you remember the El Generico feud?
Yeah, great, tremendous.
How do I watch that stuff?
Oh man, El Generico, Samurai Del Sol. How do you?
Would that be on WWN Live, or would it be?
That's a good question, because there's you talk about the 10% of people that are going to go Bulldog Bull Brown.
Or is that?
That is like early Evolve, right? Like very.
Is it Evolve or Dragon Gate USA? It's
so
Evolve,
I
right?
think it was Evolve. Yeah.
If it's Evolve, then that answers our question. It's on ice. WWE owns it, and they're never going to get around to releasing.
Yeah, I know that their big blow off match was in Evolve. I don't know if the other stuff wasn't, but. So Generico versus Del Sol 3, which is the big kind of blow off. That's on Evolve 14, which.
Well, that might be out soon then, because they're on like Evolve 6 or something.
17. Sorry, Evolve 17 is that show. So, I
mean, they're going in order with them.
Yeah,
so
they might get there. So,
what did they had 2 other? They had at least 2 other.
Yeah, let me find out where those all happened, so we can see if we can find any of them. Because I wonder if any are on high spots or something like that.
No, I think they were all Evolve or Dragon Gate USA, right?
I think you're right too. So they had an IWC Super Indie X match. So I guess you can find that one. But the big matches. Yeah, the big matches are Evolve 14. Okay, so that's why I had Evolve 14. So it's Evolve 14, Generico versus Del Sol. Evolve 15, Generico versus Del Sol 2. And then Evolve 17, Generico versus Del Sol 3. So there's a possibility that if they keep this Evolve thing up, you will get them. So it's 14, 15, and 17. It's to see all 3 matches between those guys. So about 15 minutes long and all fucking tremendous, because they're great pro wrestlers.
God, those matches were great. Those matches were fucking great. And then Kalisto, in his early days, who did he have that? Was it Baron Corbin he had the shockingly good feud with?
Yeah. I think it was Baron.
Where, who else did he... He had another good feud, and then once they did Lucha House Party,
didn't him and Enzo have like really good matches together? Do I have that right in like the early 205 Live days? Am I making those up? Is that even possible that could be the case?
That would have been I don't
like 17, like 2017, 16, that range, I guess.
I don't remember him wrestling Enzo specifically.
So I it was definitely Baron Corbin because I remember they had a match on like a TLC pay-per-view. I got it right here. TLC 2016. A chairs match between Baron Corbin and Kalisto. And
that was a really good match.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. That's the chairs match. Mm-hmm. And he may have had another like mid-card. Didn't he feud? Yeah, he did. I can't remember who it was against. And I guess, if you look on Cage Match, they don't even have a rivalries tag, like tab for him, for Kalisto. So it's hard to look up. But but then once they did the Lucha House Party thing on 205 Live, that was kind of it for him as a single. And they were, a fun opening match act on that show for a while until that show went downhill. And you have to wonder, I mean, if you're Lince Dorado or your Grand Metalik, are you just not answering the phone right now? Because why would you get rid of this guy and not get rid of the other
right,
two?
Who's better than both of those guys? I mean, no offense to Lince Dorado, but Samurai Del Sol is about 1,000 times better than Lince Dorado. So.
I don't know if he's better than Metalik, but
he might be right there neck and neck, but he blows away Lince Dorado. No offense to Lince, but yeah.
Oh yeah. He was I like Lince Dorado, but he's clearly the third, guy in that your team, I guess. But I'm trying to look up all of Kalisto's pay-per-view matches, so I could have swore he had another high-profile.
So we obviously had the good matches with Buddy Murphy. It got pushed to the pre-show of one of those WrestleManias or whatever. I know he had some stuff against Del Rio too. Is that the feud you're thinking of? Because I know he had a bunch of matches with Del Rio during that 2016 period when he was first kind of coming up onto the main roster. They were into him for a while. I don't know what happened, but
they weren't. That's what I mean. As a single, he was doing okay. He was doing as well as you could expect someone like him to do with that size and everything. But it may have been Rusev he had a little feud with, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Over the U.S. title. It was Baron Corbin and then Rusev, and you're right. He did have he did feud with Enzo over the Cruiserweight title. I'm looking at that now in 2017. So, and then, since then, that's kind of been it. The Rusev match was at Extreme Rules 2016. Rusev defeats Kalisto for the U.S. It was the U.S. title. So, my memory's not completely shot. Didn't he wrestle a WrestleMania in front of no one?
The people in the chat room were talking about that. I think it was Ryback. It was in like Texas Stadium. There's there's probably 1,000 people in the building, but when 1,000 people are in 100,000 seat Texas Stadium, it essentially was in front of absolutely nobody.
Oh, the Jerry Dome, you mean?
Yes,
Jerry Dome. Yeah, which WrestleMania? That was.
I got somebody on YouTube got very upset that I mixed up the WrestleManias last year. I believe that was WrestleMania 32.
Dallas.
Because I mentioned WrestleMania 33. That was in Orlando recently, and somebody said, you mixed up 32 and 33. Oh, how dare I? So 32, WrestleMania 32 was in Dallas. So.
And that was the Ryback match.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, this guy, I mean, his career is going to continue, and he's going to wrestle anywhere he wants.
Oh, yeah,
That's basically.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of people being like, well, what do you think this guy's capable of? And it's like, I don't think he's selling a house because because Samurai Del Sol is being advertised, but fuck, you if you're any company, if you're any indie, you call this guy and see if he's going to come onto your show. If you're AAA, if you're CMLL, if you're Ring of Honor, if you're AAW, if you're freelance wrestling, if you're any Black Label Pro, you fucking call this guy because he's great.
He'd fit right in on that Ring of Honor roster
Absolutely,
right now. But the guys you can work with,
yeah.
You stick him on Dynamite in those wild six-mans with Death Triangle and everything, maybe as a baby face opposite of the Death Triangle.
Yeah, this dude's not washed. Like, this guy is not washed. He's still, and people forget how young he was when he signed. Like, I think he is still, let me try to get, I don't know if they actually have his actual birthday here. So he's 30, I think he's only 34. He's right around my age, so... Yeah, he's probably
Cage
fine.
Match has 34. Match has 34.
Okay. So that might be the official one. So yeah, dude.
Rich has been hiding his age lately, so he just slipped there. Oh, it's my age.
I've been using a range lately. If you haven't noticed,
you've been getting self-conscious about it. You're hitting that age where you're like, I don't want to tell people how old I am. It's like, I get it. Believe me, I get it. You got to kayfabe that after a while.
And for people that are curious too, like this is a dude that came up in like Windy City Pro Wrestling and like stuff near me, like AEW and wrestled everywhere. Like, dude, you don't think that this guy isn't going to relish the opportunity to get back there and try to do stuff? Like, this dude will be working whenever that 90 day is up or whatever. This dude's going to be all over the place. So, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's funny. I made some funny tweet about Ryan Satin and Rosenberg a couple of days ago or whatever. Something having to do with Bad Bunny or whatever. And somebody quote tweeted us and said, talking about us, saying, it's time that all old white guys stopped having a voice in pro wrestling. And here's the thing about that. Ryan Satin and Peter Rosenberg are both older than you.
Yes.
But they said that we need to go away because we're the old white. And Peter Rosenberg is like my age. Right. And they're both older than you.
I listened to Peter Rosenberg on the radio when I was like 15 years old. So that's it. Yeah. So that's not.
Just like, if you're going to take shots at us, at least make them accurate. Like, right. I understand if you want to take shots at us because we're idiots, but like, they're the old white guys in this comparison, like that. You've got it backwards. Anyway,
yeah, I think I responded to that guy. Hey, it's going to be a while because I'm only 34. So like, I'm going away anytime soon. So. Still got some energy, so you're screwed.
You can bet I will be doing this fucking show until I'm 80, with
to
or without
that
you,
guy. Yeah,
just to spite that guy and remind him I just turned 80 and I'm still doing
older
this show.
And I'm whiter than ever, and I'm still doing this fucking show, dude. So
absolutely,
how do you like that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the one other was Mojo Rawley.
Are you hyped? Are you staying hyped about Mojo Rawley on the independent wrestling scene, Joe?
I'll say this. I never saw it in Mojo Rawley ever. Found him very off-putting and annoying. But Rob Naylor, who I have a lot of respect for his opinions and his vision, loves the guy and thinks he was a potential superstar. So I always had a little bit of pause because Naylor was super high on him. And Naylor identified a lot of future stars before a lot of other people did. So that I always had in the back of my mind, even though I never saw a thing in Mojo Rawley. Did you ever see anything in Mojo Rawley?
I didn't. Yeah, I never really did. There was brief moments where I was like, hey, this guy's kind of interesting. And then about a minute later, he'd annoy the fuck out of me. And I just wanted him to get off my TV screen. So, no, I never quite saw it with him. But I don't know. Professional partier. I guess he could do that if he really wants to. Hang out with Gronk and get drunk on boats, I guess, is a good. This dude's not showing up anywhere, right? This is it for Mojo.
Mojo, I mean,
I don't think he's eating shit and working VXS, next WrestleMania weekend. He's not doing blood sport. I don't think Mojo's doing anything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And he pops up on,
with all of these guys, it depends how bad they want it. And again, this is a guy who's like 6'3", 240, 250, good athlete, college football player. Would it stun you if he pops up on Dark?
No, and I would honestly, again, similar to Tucker, if I'm AEW, I call this guy and say, okay, let's see what he's. I mean, you do not let a guy that's 6'3", 300 pounds with a pro sports background. You don't let that dude walk away without at least giving him a try. And if he shows up and he's half-assing it and he doesn't really care, then you'll know, okay, whatever. But no, I absolutely call him, have him do some dark matches, see if there's anything there, and if there's not, then okay, there's nothing there. His heart's not in it. He's not into it, but. You might strike gold. I mean, they don't make, there's not a whole lot of guys in wrestling with the background that he has. So you got to try it at least. You have to call him. And
hey, they brought in Cesar Bonani, who I don't think is as talented as Tucker or Mojo Rawley.
I would agree. Yeah.
But Cesar Bonani looks good on TV, right? So there's value there, and he's pushed as a prelim guy. He's there to do TV jobs. Because he looks good on TV, and there's a certain value there. So you bring these guys in and you see if you can find some kind of value in them. There's no harm in that, in giving them a shot. They brought in Tay Conti. How's that working out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you strike, there's no reason not to call the guy and at least have him try to do something for you. So I'm with you on
so
that.
You give them a chance.
If I was a betting man, I would say that I don't think he's going to be very ambitious about hitting the ground running, but I don't know, maybe he'll prove us wrong. You never know.
Yeah, and again, NWA is always there to keep your name hot or name simmering. I don't know if you keep it hot.
It's on low. It's on medium low. It's ready for whenever you come home. That's kind of what NWA is.
you got the little simmer burner on your range, the one on the back right.
It's not, you're gonna have to stir it. You're gonna have to kind of occasionally stir it. You know, maybe when you take it out, you're gonna have to pop it in the microwave for a little bit just to make sure that it's hot all the way through. But it's there. It's not cold.
Do you have that kind of range with the little simmer burner? And then and like the front left is like the power burner where you can like, you know, fucking boil the hair off a fucking hog.
Yes.
Like with that one. But then there's the one on the far, like the back right, it's the simmer burner.
Yeah, we got
it's
a little tiny guy. Yeah, I put like, if I make mac and cheese, that's where that one goes because it just kind of simmers there. And if I want another bowl of mac and cheese, I'll go over there and do it. But it's
and it bothers me because if my wife cooks, she inevitably uses the wrong ones. And I'm like, you should be using this burner.
Right, the one that's gigantic and filled with flames is the one you should probably be using instead of.
She's like, I don't care. But okay, it's just going to take you twice as long to boil that water then. I'm just trying to help, you know? She's like, you and your stupid burner. Like her whole thing is, she will only use the burners. It's you and your burner. Yeah, it's my burners. She will only use the burners on the back because she lives in constant fear that the children are going to knock the burners off.
Okay, that's kind of fair. I mean, they seem a little wild, so that seems fair.
So it gets on my case if I use the front burners, but I'm like, this is the burner I'm supposed to be using. I'm an experienced culinary expert. Please don't tell me what burner to use. You know, that's the kind of things I have to say.
Sure.
But yeah, that's Mojo Rawley.
And that I've refreshed, and I believe that is it for the releases. So we'll see.
We are told that there could be some NXT cuts coming.
I saw that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But we're told that those would potentially drop tomorrow. That would be on Friday. So we'll see if that is accurate.
An industry source has told us that NXT cuts may be coming on. I guess we should cater to the live listeners, right? Tomorrow,
right? They pay the $10. They're better than these fucking freeloaders. So yeah. $10.
Jeez, that's no way to talk them into being paid.
well, if you're a $10 subscriber, we won't insult you ever again, except for we definitely will. So
that's right.
There you go. So, all right, Joe, we got to do this. But before we get into WrestleMania Weekend, I do have to let you know this episode of the Voice Wrestling Flagship is brought to you also by Manscaped, the best in men's and women's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. It's trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, and we have an exclusive offer for our listeners, 20% off plus free shipping with the code FLAGSHIP. Again, that's code FLAGSHIP at manscaped.com. They have the best ball hair trimmer ever. The Lawnmower 3.0, their third generation trimmer, features cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin safe technology. In addition, the trimmer comes with an LED light and is waterproof so you can shave in the shower as well. The Lawnmower 3.0 comes in their brand new Perfect Package 3.0, which comes with everything you need to keep trimmed, cut free, and smelling nice. You have the Crop Preserver, you got the Crop Reviver, you got everything you need to keep your balls from sweating, smelling, and sticking. Also in that Perfect Package, you get a pair of high performance boxer briefs that'll keep your junk feeling fresh all day, as well as a travel bag to store all of those grooming goodies. Again, 20% off plus free shipping with the code FLAGSHIP at manscaped.com. Again, 20% off with the code FLAGSHIP at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with manscaped.com. All right. You ready to get people mad at us?
Oh, what timing. I went and took a piss, and as soon as I put the headset back on, you said, are
there
you ready
you go.
for people to get mad at us?
You ready for people to get mad at us?
Do you know one time in 2014 or 15, I couldn't hold it. I was prairie dogging. I took the laptop and the microphone into the bathroom and took a dump while we recorded a show. Did you know that?
So I did know that, and I used to actually do that as well back in the early Voice of Wrestling Flagship days when I would wear a headset, similar to what you do. I would do the same thing where you're there. I'm looking at it. I'm like, he's probably not gonna, as long as I don't flush. If I mute when I flush, like he'll never know. Like it's gonna sound the same, and I used to do that pretty often, but now with the mic days, I just have to wait until the end. So.
Pretty often you would shit.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It was more often than you probably think. So it's pretty comfortable. I do my best thinking while on the in the shower and while I'm shitting. So yeah, that some of our most provocative shows were probably done while I was on the toilet thinking of what's going on. And
man, I did it once and thought I was being edgy.
I did it a lot. Yeah,
that's crazy. The one thing I was afraid of while I was shitting while doing the show was that echo effect you get in the bathroom, right? When I would talk, I'm like, oh, he's going to know I'm taking a shit because I'm going to talk and it's going to echo because you're going to get that bathroom echo. But now that I know that you have shit multiple times while recording the show.
Well, this is years ago. This is back in I'm sure we were echoey anyway. I'm sure I had a USB headset in that old apartment. I'm sure it was echoey as fuck no matter what. So it didn't matter. And like that's when in those days is when the nurse was working nights, so there was a chance that she was probably not home at all. So every door was, I didn't have to even close the door. So you probably didn't even know I was in the bathroom. You know what I mean?
May have been pre-nurse even. Could have been way back.
Yeah, there was probably some pre-nurse flagships where I was taking some dumps. So yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right.
So there you go. That's Joe and Rich shit while they talk about wrestling. Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. WrestleMania weekend again, as we said, we are not going to talk about actual WrestleMania. Night 1 and night 2, you can listen to the Voices of Wrestling flagship instant reaction live on patreon.com/voices of wrestling or voicesofwrestling.com/patreon. That is an hour and a half on both nights. Night 1 and night 2, we did instant reactions immediately following those shows. So if you want all of our thoughts on WrestleMania, that is where you'll get it. Instead, today we're going to talk about the indies as well as NXT that we watched over the last weekend. What we saw, we're going to talk at least about every show, but some of us saw, I think I watched almost everything, but there was a few shows that I missed. There's a few shows that you watched that I didn't see. So we'll touch on every single show, but I don't know that we're going to review every show with a ton of thought, and nor do I really want to with a lot of the stuff that I have.
Here's the thing. There were a billion shows, and we don't know which shows the other guy watched yet. So we're just going to talk about all of them. We might come across a show or two where neither one of us
we go, I don't watch it. Did you watch it? Nah, and then we move on. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Like ICW Volume 11 then and now, I think will probably be a pretty quick segment as far as I know. But I don't know. Maybe Joe watched that show and loved it. So we'll find out. Anyway.
Overall thoughts though,
yeah.
Not good.
Not good. No, it really, really wasn't. I mean, we said this when we first talked about IWTV showing up at WrestleMania Weekend. Thank God that they were there. Because this weekend would have been dire without IWTV. Without they really and they didn't bat 1,000. There were definitely some stuff that I did not like on IWTV, but man, oh man, without them, this would have been a dire weekend. I mean, this is a weekend of like a few shows, a few matches here and there that I even could tolerate. But the GCW offerings, the collective offerings, were by and large absolutely fucking horrendous. Yeah, just terrible production values, terrible commentary. Fucking people puking in the ring, people having heat stroke, 10 people in the crowd. It just absolutely a fucking disaster for a lot. I mean, there was some that really landed, and we'll talk about those shows. There was a few GCW shows that I really, really liked, among my favorite shows of the entire weekend. But by and large, 75% of it was pretty embarrassing to see.
GCW's trashiness, which used to be part of their charm, isn't charming anymore. It's just trashy. You just feel like you're watching a trashy, garbage, low-level product. I know that sounds harsh, but that's how it comes across. And a lot of it is the commentary. I mean, I know that they probably don't care, and it's a shame that they don't. Because what they don't realize is that their commentary is so bad and so unprofessional. And look, Rich, I don't need Dick Enberg in the booth. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But you've got to raise the standard a little bit. You can't just have two guys who sound like they're drunk, cursing, and I'm no prude. I could deal with an F-bomb now and then, but it's just unprofessional trash, which not only drags down your own product and makes you come across like it's just like it's backyard bullshit, but because GCW, and they didn't ask for this necessarily, but because GCW is the highest profile indie out there right now, it drags down all of indie wrestling when the quote-unquote leader is presenting such a trashy garbage product to the public.
Absolutely. And one of the issues too, and we always bring up this ECW GCW comp, which is not fair at all, because
not fair at all.
But this is a big reason why, is because I think we see what has now happened over the last few years is that people watch GCW, and similar to what they did with ECW back in the day as well, is they say, oh, okay, well, that's what we need to take this part of ECW, and that's what is popular, and that's what people like, or whatever. And the problem what happened with, and it's the same thing happened with ECW many, many years ago, is people saw hardcore matches and trash and that sort of stuff and said, that's what ECW is, so we're going to do that. And that spawns your XPWs and your CZWs and your Juggalo champion shit wrestlings and stuff. You know what I mean? And it spawned a lot of those companies, which is just like, whoa, that's not exactly what ECW was. Like, you guys took one aspect of ECW and decided that was the aspect that was successful, and that's not the case. Like, ECW was successful for a multitude of reasons that wasn't just hardcore wrestling and raunchiness and all that sort of stuff. Like, deep down, there was parts of ECW that were not that were very successful, that made it reach the highs that it reached. And unfortunately, what you're seeing now is a lot of copycats that look at GCW and say, oh, well, we need to have a screaming ring announcer and a bunch of trash bag, dirtbags doing our commentary and acting like this is all a bunch of a big haha and a big laugh or whatever. And that they're taking all of what made GCW get to this point in the first place. They're taking all of that and taking the wrong examples from that and taking the wrong things out of that and saying, oh, well, we need to do more of that. When no, you don't. There's aspects of GCW that worked, that were good, that got them to this level, and the least of it is having your announcers be drunk and scream and say, oh, fuck yeah, bro. Oh, hell yeah, bro. Oh, fucking hell yeah, man. Oh, man. It's just like, God, after a weekend of it, it's like, shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ, call a move. Like, God.
I mean, Gil at one point in the booth, when Too Cold Scorpio was coming to the ring at 3:30 in the morning, there were some fans like dancing in the aisle, and he's like, if I were in the crowd, I'd be marking out and dancing too, and if you don't like it, then you can suck my fucking dick. It's like,
so annoying.
Is that necessary? Like, who enjoys this? Who enjoys that kind of commentary? And again, we're not prudes, but what's the point of that kind of commentary? Like, what does that achieve?
Right, you're not. What is the benefit? Tell me the benefit of you acting like a fucking frat bro on commentary. Like, what is the benefit of that?
He's a 40-year-old man behaving like an 18-year-old. I don't understand the benefit of that kind, but it hurts the shows. It hurts all of indie wrestling. And it's like, with no Gabe promotion or no, WWN venue, no Ring of Honor, no WrestleCon, no fly-ins, you're left with Game Changer Wrestling and the Collective being the face of this thing. And it really exposed a lot of their flaws and what they really are.
Right. And like, we've said this I don't want to interrupt you, but you kind of alluded to it a little bit before. Like, we've always said that they didn't really ask for this. They de facto became the top indie. Yeah. And, it kind of stinks. It's not their fault. They've been doing the same dirtbag bullshit for years or whatever. It's just like, I think they've turned the volume up a little bit more, but it speaks more to the state of the indies versus the state of GCW. It's a shame that they've become the de facto top indie, when in actuality they shouldn't be. They should be the fourth indie. They should be the third indie.
They should be the trashy alternative. That's what they should be, and that's what they were. But due to attrition and the pandemic and a number of other factors, now they're the most high profile thing on a weekend like this, and they're not equipped to be that.
No, they're not. And it's actually interesting. I went back and listened to our 2019 review or our preview when we got very much in trouble from a lot of people, and we were saying, I remember I got the exact quote. I was actually going to put it in the preview that I did on the flagship feed, the 8-hour preview or whatever, the 3-part preview of you and I saying like, hey, we're glad that GCW's here because they've added some juice to this WrestleMania weekend and it had some fun aspect. But that and I don't, and like, if people brought that up and would say, oh, well, now you hate GCW, and it's like, well, yeah, because they were the trashy alternative. They were the okay, I've watched my Zack Sabre Jr., Will Ospreay. Let's see what GCW's doing. And it's fucking, Joey Janela and 100 of his friends all drinking beers and having a good, like, it was a great alternative to all this stuff. Okay, I'm done with the normal wrestling. It's midnight. What are these assholes doing? And everyone's smoking weed and getting drunk and having fun. It was like, okay, this is kind of fun and interesting. But when you're smoking weed and getting drunk and being a trash bag alternative and then running 12 hours a day, it starts to wear a little thin after a while. So
yeah, it just wasn't good wrestling at all from that venue. No, I do think Spring Break was probably the most entertaining top to bottom show because it had the big crowd and it had the big blow off match and all of that. And there's more effort put into Spring Break, right? So naturally, and then Bloodsport, because it's the different concept, and you had Moxley Barnett, which was a huge match. And again, you had the big crowd. None of their other shows drew a fucking anything. I mean, the rest of their shows had 50 people there at best. Some of the shows had like 10, 20 people, and bad wrestling and wrestlers trying to fight through the heat. It used to be too that Spring Break was the wild renegade show that ran at 2 a.m. But now Spring Break is in this position of being the marquee show of the weekend. It's not supposed to be that.
No, it's supposed to be the trash bag midnight
that.
show. Yeah, and it's now.
Yeah, where
it's
you just
moved to it used to start at 2 a.m. because it was supposed to start at midnight and everybody was too drunk or everybody was coming out and then they're like, all right, here we go, and then it goes from 2 to 5 a.m. or whatever, and then this year it's on 8 p.m. It's like the charter show of the entire weekend.
Right, and because Gabe isn't there and Ring of Honor's not there and WrestleCon's not there and there's no fly-ins, and it's like now all of these everything that did show up is like bumped up a notch. The Collective is the highlight hub of the weekend. Spring Break is the marquee show of the weekend, where it literally used to be the midnight show on like Saturday or Friday or whatever. And it's like the wacky, okay, let's turn our brains off and just watch some dumb shit. And Janela would tell you that's what it was meant to be.
No, that's what he wanted it to be. Yeah, it was supposed to be a trash bag dumb shit show at midnight.
But now it's like the highlight show of the weekend. And it's like, I thought Mike Spears made a great point. Like, now the VSX show is kind of in that spring break mode, like where it was the last show of the night and it was just total insanity. And it's like, Game Changer just can't be what they're in a position to be in the indie scene. They're not equipped to be that. They're just not. And as far as IWTV, look, their shows would have been the same whether all of those other promotions showed up, whether it was a pandemic or not. That is like the fourth or fifth string hub, which is where they want to be, honestly.
Right. And they didn't aspire to be anything more than what they were. Yeah.
And under normal circumstances, that's the kind of venue where if everyone would have been here, you wouldn't have watched any of their shows live. But those are the shows where people would have said later, hey, you got to go back and watch that Action show. You got to go back and watch Family Reunion. You got to go back and watch whatever the fuck. But in this scene, it got bumped into this number 2 position that it didn't ask to be in, because there was only 2 hubs this year. I'm throwing fake GCW aside. They don't count. So, it was, I would say, since the term WrestleMania Weekend became a thing, this was easily the worst one, and it's not even particularly close. That doesn't mean there wasn't good stuff. I thought Daniel Garcia was a highlight of the entire weekend. I thought he was the clear standout. And if you want to hand out like an MVP or something, it'd be him.
Oh, I don't even think there's another contender. And the 2 coming in was Daniel Garcia is one that we mentioned, and Lee Moriarty is one we mentioned. We'll talk about Lee. He was snake bitten by a lot of stuff throughout the weekend as well. But I don't think that even ultimately he really delivered. And he was trying to kind of tell a story throughout the weekend or whatever. And it was fine. He was pretty good. But Daniel Garcia, I think I don't even think there's a contender. I think he blew everybody away. Everything that I saw him do, and he was in a ton of different shows and a ton of different, styles. He was fucking tremendous all weekend. He was great. Really great.
Lee Moriarty, I do feel bad for him to some. I mean, look, he was the clear MVP of the Collective in Indianapolis. I think that is fair to say. When the Collective was in Indianapolis, that was the Lee Moriarty show. He was phenomenal. He had like 3 of the 4 best matches or whatever. This weekend, he really was snake bitten. He was wrestling opponents that were well below his skill level, that can't do the things that he can do. He had opponents who no-showed. He had opponents who got heat stroke and vomited a minute into the match. He wrestled, I think the Rich Swann match was where there was miscommunication between the wrestlers and the referee, and there was a botched 3 count.
Mm-hmm.
Every step of the way, Lee Moriarty ran into some snake bit, bad luck bullshit.
Well, and also a guy that unfortunately is probably too good for the scene that he's in, and that's an absolute fucking shit show of a scene. So
and when he finally got in there, with an opponent of his caliber, there was a referee fucking thing,
right?
In the Swan match, and it's like, so and like you alluded to too, he attempted to tell a weekend long story with the injured ribs, which is cool as fuck, but he didn't have good opponents, and some of the matches he was booked for didn't even happen. And he really just had a snake. I can't even blame the weekend. Look, none of that's his fault. I mean, maybe the botch with the ref was the wrestler's fault because they didn't kick out. Because the ref really got hung out to dry there. It's one of those situations where the ref knows it's not the finish, but the wrestlers don't kick out.
Mm-hmm.
So the ref doesn't know what to do, and I always feel so bad for referees when they're in that spot. This is why WWE, and I don't know the AEW policy, but in WWE, they tell them to call it like a shoot because they don't want the referee to look like a goof And it's like I think that should be the norm everywhere. Just
or at least or whatever. When the doors open, when the referees are there, you say, okay, call it. Just have every company has to establish, okay, call it like a shoot or whatever. Yeah, I'm with you. I would always tell the referees just call it like a shoot, and if the guys fuck up, they fuck up. But don't lose your credibility because it's much worse when they do the 1, 2, 3, and then they go, and like one of the wrestlers has to say, no, that's the finish, and they go, okay, yeah, ring the bell. Like, yeah, it just makes it so worse. And that's what happened in that match. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, and especially on the indies, just call it like a shoot because the finishes really ultimately don't matter. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like it even matters less at that level where you could just count the fucking pin. But yeah, his weekend was just snake bit. And the other guy I wanted to mention before we go through the cards was JTG. I thought he looked great.
Oh, he was good. Yeah, I forgot to mention him. He was really, really good.
This is a guy who's like looking for another run, brother, because, physically he looked phenomenal, and he wasn't afraid to muck it up. He did that light tube thing with Dr. Cube, and that's one of the most memorable things of this entire weekend to me. That's like one of the few matches I'll remember from this weekend, like forever. I'll always remember that JTG Dr. Cube match on the VSX show, which again was very Spring Break-esque kind of match. That's what that show was. It was kind of like the replacement for Spring Break, because Spring Break was more of just like we said, the marquee show of the weekend as opposed to being the crazy sideshow. But I thought JTG was impressive the entire weekend and looked great. And outside of that, in terms Kevin Koo, a guy who I've been critical of at times. I haven't liked him in MLW, but to be fair, I think MLW gets the worst out of everyone. I thought Kevin Koo had an excellent weekend. He had the great match against Daniel Garcia. I thought the Finn Juice versus Violence is Forever match was fantastic. Way better than I thought it was going to be. And I think that Kevin Koo is in the best shape that I've ever seen him in, and was one of the more interesting wrestlers on the weekend too. I
agree. Yeah, his look has definitely improved, both what his gear, both I think his in-ring, bell to bell. I think he's in better shape than he was a year or so ago. No, I'm with you as well. I was very impressed. I don't think he's my MVP of the weekend. I don't think he's anywhere near Daniel Garcia, but he is worth mentioning. He was a guy that I have been critical of before. I haven't quite seen it out of him, but this is the weekend where I was like, oh, okay, this guy, there's something there. There's definitely something there, and I finally saw what other people see in him. So yeah, I think he had a damn good weekend too. Pretty much every match that I saw him in, I was pretty impressed by him. As far as Dom, we'll talk about Dom in a little bit, I guess. But
I think that
the look department is going backwards for one Dom Greeny. That's all I'll say. So,
and in terms of, do you have anyone you wanted to highlight before I tell you who I thought was two people who I want to highlight as being terrible, and then we could do the shows?
I'm trying to think of anybody else that really stood out to me.
Anything that stood out for you, a theme, anything?
So I would say one of the themes that I really did like watching the independent wrestling TV shows, especially the family reunion shows. There was a lot of guys that I hadn't, ever, not necessarily ever, not seen before, but maybe saw them only like once or twice, or only seen them a few times. There was a few guys. I'm trying to get all the names here that I had. So there was Mysterious Q and Ryan Davidson. That was on night 2. I really liked what those guys did. Alex Kane, I want to shout him out from he's just a monster of a man. He was really awesome. Brian Keith was pretty good as well. So there was a lot of and especially a lot of these dudes that ended up, either not working for the culture or being there for the weekend, but it just makes that show kind of look like weird when they're like, hey, there's these guys that are really, really good that apparently can't make the For the Culture show. But I think most of those guys did show up on that show. But I would say the IWTV, there was a bunch of dudes that I had never seen before that did stand out to me that I really enjoyed. But yeah, probably Brian Keith, Alex Kane were guys that I thought, did they do a ton on this night to make me go, oh my God, they're ready to go. These guys are great. Not really, but guys that I thought were solid enough. Mysterious Q, who was pretty cool as well. Ryan Davidson, who I thought was pretty solid too. Oh, I completely forgot about this guy. We do have to shout him out. Cabana Man Dan. You had always been telling me that. You've been telling me for months now. Yeah, I got to check out Cabana Man Dan. Dude, that dude got himself in some shape. He's got a good look. He's got a beard. He grew his hair out. Dude, he's awesome. He looks really, really good. And he was always a decent worker, but he always just kind of looked like a dork. That dude looks awesome now. So yeah, all credit to Cabana Man Dan. This is 2021 is Cabana Man Dan's year. He was really good on this weekend. So
Cabana Man Dan used to do a gimmick where he was like a cabana boy.
Right.
the traditional Cabana Boy. He's kind of altered his gimmick to where he's like I guess a guy on a deserted island, like I don't know how to describe it. I guess like a castaway, right? Isn't that what I think?
It was his Twitter account is Castaway CMD. So yeah, he's officially a castaway. So
he's got like he's updated his look, and he looks a little cooler now as opposed to like this kind of very indie-rific Cabana Boy gimmick. But his problem was never his wrestling. I mean, he's just an excellent wrestler, and always has been. I mean, especially in regards to like selling. If he's in a tag match and he's on the babyface side, he's going to be the face in peril, and he's going to do a great job taking that beating for the hot tag. I mean, but definitely an unheralded guy who's always a standout on some of those Southern indie shows. So I'm glad you got to take an extended look at him and kind of see what I see.
Yeah, because I knew of him and I'd seen some matches, but it was always like the gimmick is so dorky and so lame or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty damn cool these days. So I'm glad I mentioned him. I had him in my notes and completely forgot about him. Oh, one more team I got to put over here. Iron Beast, KTB and Shane Mercer. How
I know you're an Iron Beast guy.
Awesome are those guys. They come out, the bell rings, they're strong, they're roided up. If they're not, I hope they are. Get roided up, and they just come out and they maul and they destroy and they kill and then they win, and their name is Iron Beast, and that's so much cooler than every other tag team that's on the scene these days. Iron Beast fucking rocks. KTB, Shane Mercer. Shane Mercer did something on, I believe it was Spring Break. Yeah, it was Spring Break. Did something the most athletic thing I've ever seen in a pro wrestling match ever. Did you see that spot that he did on Spring Break?
I didn't see the match, but I saw the spot on a million different GIFs.
So he, I think it's Eric Ryan or Bobby Beverly. It doesn't matter. It's another human being. That's all you need to know. It's another human being. Shane Mercer grabs this guy, lifts him up. He's grabbing him. He walks up to the top rope. He lifts the guy above his head. He like presses the guy above his head. Again, this is another human being, by the way, this is being done to. Not a child. It's not Starboy Charlie. This is another human adult man. And then he does like some sort of flipping like body slam type thing or whatever. Doesn't miss a beat, and then gets up on his knees and lifts the guy up again. So KTB comes in and like hits him with a lariat or whatever. It was like, oh my God.
You can't do justice to this spot.
You have to watch it. It is the most physically impressive thing I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. It is.
I don't think Rich is exaggerating either. It just
you couldn't do this with a pillow, Joe. If I gave you a pillow, you couldn't do this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
he's with another human being. Like,
yeah,
lifting him above his head multiple times, flipping off the top rope, and then lifting him again in perfect motion too. You got to look this up. I think if you want to go to our Twitter account, you can scroll and scroll and scroll. But I think I start the tweet out by saying this is the most physically impressive thing I've ever seen in a wrestling match ever, and that
yeah.
Any flip dive, anything ever. I mean, this is just unbelievable what he was doing. So yeah, I am all in on Iron Beast. More Iron Beast, less Oreo Speedwagons. Not only because of the Sex Pest stuff, but also because Oreo Speedwagon and the
is a dumb name.
Is a dumb name. More Iron Beasts, more KTBs, more Shane Mercers. Yes. Okay,
so as you can see, we're being fair. We pointed out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, 20 minutes. 20 minutes of stuff we liked. So all right.
I'm gonna kill a couple of people here. I got to be. Listen, Rich, Jordan Oliver. I saw
Jordan Oliver wrestle. Was Jordan Oliver on this weekend?
Once or twice.
Did he show up a few times? Oh, okay.
I'm counting now. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, he wrestled 8 matches, and I saw every one of them. So
there's no way he only wrestled 8. I saw 7, and I did not watch every single show.
Well, I mean, if you watch the Acid Cups, you saw most of them. So it's.
I did.
Here's the thing. This guy wrestled 8 times. I saw 8 matches, and I'm not trying to be mean, but he never improves. He's not good at all, and I have no earthly clue what any of these promoters see in him and why he not only gets booked on these shows but gets pushed. I understand it's a depleted scene. How is this guy like a pushed commodity? Now, I will say this. He has a following, so maybe that answers my question. But that's just like proof that if you push anyone, they're going to get over with someone. You know what I mean? You could push anyone and they're going to get over with some. If you constantly tell people someone's a star, some of those people are going to believe you. Okay, so I guess I do understand why he gets pushed, and I understand it's a depleted scene. And I know I always preface my Jordan Oliver burials with, This has nothing to do with him as a person. In fact, he's one of the people on Twitter who I think takes criticism better than anyone. He lets it roll right off his back. People kill him constantly on Twitter, and his reaction is always the same. People can say what they want. They're allowed to have an opinion. I'm just going to work hard. I respect the shit out of that. I believe that he works hard. I believe he wants to be great at this. I believe he wants to be a star. But, Rich, it just isn't. There's nothing there. And you got to watch this guy wrestle 8 times on a weekend like this. Rich, he wrestled 8 matches, and I'm looking at all 8 of them now, and none of them cracked 2 stars. And some of them were among the worst matches of the entire weekend. One of them was the worst match of the weekend. And I'm going to use that as a transition into my next point. And unfortunately, the next person I have to bury beneath the earth. I saw a wrestler on this weekend who might be the worst pushed wrestler I have ever seen in my almost 40 years of watching pro wrestling. And think about all of the horrendous pushed pro wrestlers that have come along the way in all the different places that I watch and the ground that covers. Rich, Edith Surreal is the worst pushed pro wrestler I have ever seen in my life. You want to talk about not understanding how someone gets booked. This Edith Surreal cannot get out of her own way. I mean, the Jordan Oliver Edith Surreal match, you will not see a worse pro wrestling match between 2 trained pro wrestlers in your life. You won't. It doesn't get any worse.
Yeah, and
not counting.
And Joe is really not exaggerating. I mean, there were multiple times in this match where there was the stop, look at each other. What are we going to do? Oh, I'll do this move, and then you do this move, and then they stop again and go, well, just multiple times in this match. I mean, that far and away the worst match of the entire weekend between these 2.
Oh, my God. And listen, here's the thing about Edith Surreal. I've seen Edith Surreal wrestle as a still life with apricot and pears. And to be fair, she was never this bad until maybe this was just a really bad weekend.
This was a terrible weekend because I've seen her in some stuff that I have enjoyed, but this weekend
I've never been a fan.
No. I've never said that she should be like the top indie. No. But I've seen stuff where I've said, okay, yeah, she's solid, but this weekend was not a good weekend for her at all.
Edith Surreal was so over her head in there with Lee Moriarty, and it was obvious. Like, they don't belong in the same ring. And that's like, I've never seen Lee Moriarty have a more average match than that. And the Jordan Oliver match was just fucking horrendous. I mean, I don't have the proper adjectives to describe how bad this match. It was literally one of the worst matches I can't think of many matches I've seen with real wrestlers, not gimmicks, not celebrities, not it's bad on. It's supposed to be bad. That was as bad as this. From just everything they tried failed. They tried shit that was way over both of their heads. It completely fell apart. I understand it's 90 degrees with a humidity of fucking 150%. I get it, but everyone was dealing with it. This was so bad. And look, the gimmick, the whole like living art thing, and the entrance is kind of cool. With I don't know if you saw the entrance for the match where there's like a bunch of easels.
Yeah. I did see, I forget that was what the hell show was that? I did see that one.
So then at the end, after the camera pans to all the different easels with the art, the last one is an empty frame, and Surreal is standing behind it and then comes through the frame. I get the gimmick, and it's creative, right?
I think that was a family reunion. I think if people want to see that, one of the family reunion shows.
It was the main event.
It was against Moriarty. Yeah, it was to build up to the IWTV Independent Wrestling TV Independent title.
But she stinks.
Yeah, then it was a lot of pomp and circumstance, and then the bell rang, and then the bell rang. So
the offense, like the strikes, like nothing looks. This is the problem with Edith Surreal. Nothing she does looks like it hurts. None of the holds, none of the strikes. It's like the thing you talk about, like. I don't know. It's just awful.
Right. If you're going to do that, you got to be a flyer. You know what I mean? You either have to, you got to have something. You if your strikes aren't going to look good, you got to be a high flyer. If your strikes don't look good, you got to be a submission wrestler. If your strikes don't look good, you got to be technical. You can't be kind of like okay at a lot of stuff and not very good at most of it. You know what I mean? Like it's just there's got to be a lane, and I know that she fancies herself as a little bit more of like a kind of a technical wrestler. I didn't see it this weekend. If that's what you're going for, then I might want to find something else. Because
now look, it might be Jordan Oliver's fault in that match because I don't no one considers him fucking name your grappler of choice. I mean, nobody thinks that
Billy Robinson. He's not.
Jordan Oliver is not replacing Jonathan Gresham in the pure division anytime soon. I understand that. Okay. But so, maybe you could chalk it up to that. But against Lee Moriarty, I saw nothing.
Yeah.
This is not outside of the gimmick, which is creative. I know this sounds mean. I honestly don't understand how this person gets booked. I don't. And as far as Jordan Oliver goes, I mean, in a full, vibrant scene, I think that Jordan Oliver is someone who's still working small shows that don't make tape and maybe pre-show matches on your bigger shows. It's not Jordan Oliver's fault that the scene stinks. But I also, and I get that the promotions don't have a lot to choose from and that he is popular by the standards of today's indie wrestling, because I don't think any of these people outside of Nick Gage and maybe one or two people I'm forgetting draw. Nick Gage is an indie draw.
Yeah,
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think anybody else is. Janela, when he shows up, but Janela I consider a major league wrestler now. I don't count him anymore because he's on national TV with a contract. So you can't count, you can't count Moxley. I mean, you can count that if you want, but as far as people without contracts, there's Nick Gage and then who else? I mean, I don't know. Am I forgetting someone? I don't think I am. Do you think people? I mean, maybe Leo Rush. Are people buying tickets?
I don't know if I'm
Leo
buying
Rush?
a ticket. I mean, I like having. He's another guy like you mentioned, like with Kalisto and all those guys. Like you're not upset that he's on the card, but you're not buying a ticket because he's on the card. You're
the kind of people where you want to see a bunch of those people on a card, then you're buying a ticket.
Right. Like a Chris Dickinson's, I think, right on the edge of that. But I don't.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm like 100% buying a show because he's on it, but it's like, hey, yeah, hell yeah, he's on the show. That's cool.
But if Nick Gage is in a grudge match, you're buying it.
Oh,
to
for
see
sure.
That match.
Yeah. Spring Break was a no doubt. I was going to watch that. I was going to do anything I could to watch that main event with him. Yeah, he's that guy. There's a few other guys like that, but yeah, it really not many. No, there really is not.
And Jordan Oliver, I mean, again, he's 21, which again is why I feel bad. But it's like, not all of this is his fault that he's in the position he's in. He's not going to tell them, "Don't push me." You know what I mean? It's like. So I get it, and he's 21. I mean, he's a kid. He may end up being great. I don't fucking know. But, man, having to watch him 8 times.
It was hard. A lot. Yeah. He really dragged. I mean, that Acid Cup, like, for a multitude of reasons, that Acid Cup, I mean, was one of my most anticipated things of the entire weekend and ended up being maybe the worst thing I saw the entire weekend. With you start out with the first night, the first day or whatever, and we're going a little out of, well, I guess we're not going totally out of order here, but that was on that Thursday, and it starts out with, the first 2 guys get in the ring, and they're fucking sweating buckets, and it's sunny, and then we have this guy getting replaced by this guy, and then JJ Garrett's puking, and then Jordan Oliver and Ian Surreal have the match, and it's fucking terrible, and then it's just, this guy doesn't show up, and that guy didn't show up, and this guy's puking, and it's just like, what are we doing? Like, there's guys dying of heat, like, passing out because of heat stroke and stuff, and it's like, Jesus Christ, what is going on with this thing? And that Acid Cup never got on track the entire weekend. I mean, what a disappointment when you look at the names that were announced for that thing and what it ended up being.
Well, why don't we do it? Let's go through the shows. Why don't we do that?
Let's do that. So do you want to take over at the end? We'll shelf take over and kind of have that as a separate thing at the end.
Yeah, we'll do takeover after the indie stuff.
Okay, yeah. So we'll start with the first indie thing that popped up. D-Generation F. That was on the Thursday. Jimmy Lloyd's D-Generation F. Did you watch most of, all of, or some of this show?
I watched it at the same time as the IWTV show that was going on at the same time. There was a Nolan Edward, Daniel Garcia match that was pretty good. Nothing worth, you don't need to go out of your way to see it, but it wasn't bad. There was a Jordan Oliver, Everett Connors match that was just the absolute shits. Connors is another guy I do not get. That's the Yeezy Con guy on Twitter. I don't get the gimmick. Like, I get the gimmick, but I don't think it's a good gimmick unless it's a heel gimmick. Here's what I would do with Jordan Oliver and Everett Connors. I would absolutely 100% book both of those guys if I ran an indie, but they would be heel trolls. They'd be
Special
PG-13.
K. They'd be Special K 2021 is how I would book them for sure.
Special K, PG-13. Remember PG-13?
Oh, yeah, of course.
PG-13 would get pushed in Memphis, but whenever they came to ECW, WCW, WWE, what were they? They were heel trolls who did nothing but bump for baby faces because they were hateable. I would book Jordan Oliver and Everett Connors as the new PG-13, just heel trolls. The baby faces, you can't wait for them to get their hands on them. That's the role I would give them on my show. These guys get pushed as like top baby faces, and they're not good. And the gimmicks aren't conducive to that either. At least in Connor's case. I don't know. It was horrible. And there wasn't much else of note as I looked down the card. So that was the
the main event was Starboy Charlie and Jimmy Lloyd, and it was
Jimmy Lloyd stinks.
Jimmy Lloyd is not good. He's funny, but he's not a good pro wrestler at all. Acid Cup night 1, day 1. I don't even know how to describe this show because so many things happened over the course of Lee Moriarty had an opponent that puked, JJ Garrett.
Well, he had an opponent who didn't show up and then an opponent.
Right. Oh, that's right. Yes.
His replacement. Yeah. So he ended up wrestling JJ Garrett, who had heat stroke and vomited, and they had to call the match off.
Yeah, lovely.
There was another match that got called off too. It was that on this show or the next one?
I think that may have been...
Wasn't on this one, I don't think, because Arez wrestled Aramis on this one. Oh, Dragon Bane wrestled... No, it was Canis Lupus, El Hijo Canis Lupus. That wasn't this show.
That was Degeneration F, yeah.
On Degeneration F, Canis Lupus legitimately knocked out Gino Medina, and they had to stop that match. And then the very next show on the Acid Cup, JJ Garrett vomited, and they had to stop that match.
Oh, and at the end of the 6-man scramble, some guy got knocked out as well, and they had to carry him out of the ring in the opener. So, yeah, the G-Generation F had the body count of GCW after 2 shows was pretty damn high already of guys that either got concussions or got heat stroke. So, yeah, not great. It was an ominous start to the weekend.
Some of these Acid Cup first-round matches weren't bad. Arez versus Aramis, those guys wrestle all the time, and it's always good. I've reviewed their matches before. They had a good match. I thought that, Laredo Kid and Braden Lee was fine. Dragon Bane and KTB was fine. Mm-hmm. This was a show with Jordan Oliver and Edith Surreal, which was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. And then some of it kind of just existed. So, and the Acid Cup shows were really hurt by the fact that, they literally had 20 people at them at best.
There were some pathetic crowds, yeah, but really, really pathetic crowds. And we'll talk about this next show here as we're talking about GCW, and then we'll move over to IWTV, which we're going to group them by the companies as well. But
yeah,
Bloodsport 6 finally later in the night had a huge crowd, but was mic'd so terrible you couldn't hear any of the crowd whatsoever. It's an absolute embarrassment. You get a big crowd like this, put a goddamn microphone in the audience. Like, what are we doing? Come on, like, it's pro wrestling. Like, let's figure out some production values. Let's have some fucking pride in what we're doing here, because you have this huge crowd for Bloodsport, a really cool, fun crowd that was into all this stuff, and you couldn't hear them at all. And what an embarrassment. Eventually, when they finally got people, they had no idea what to do with these people, because they finally got a crowd for Bloodsport 6, which I enjoyed a lot. I will say it had a lot of the issues that popped up in recent Bloodsports. Is a lot of these guys go out there and they just have like very technically sound fights, but I don't want that. I want Schlack and Super Beast. I want guys that rip each other's faces off. I want Matt Mikowski and Hetty, just going out there and throwing bombs for 6 minutes. I want Super Beast and Schlack bleeding all over the place. I want what we got with Barnett and Moxley. I don't really want to see, fucking Alex Coughlin and Royce Isaacs like exchange, good arm bars. Like, who gives a shit about that stuff? Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be a style issue for some people where you're gonna like certain styles and not like others. I think it's best served where they do a mix. And I think the problem with some of the Bloodsport shows is the matches all become a little samey sometimes. Mm-hmm. This one had a little variety. You had Schlack with the ankle bite DQ with the blood all over the place. You had the technical grappling with Karen Tran and Janai Kai in the opener. Coughlin and Isaacs have been feuding in Bloodsport. Bloodsport books more programs than some of these other promotions.
They do, and I popped big when Coughlin, they got announced, and he doesn't even he runs out to the ring and goes, no, let's fight right fucking now, baby. Let's go. And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Leo Rush and Yo-Yo was a little different because Leo got flipped out of the ring, and Davey Boy Smith won his match against KTB with a sit-out powerbomb knockout. So there was more variety here than there is sometimes with these Bloodsport shows. Chavo Guerrero looked great at the age of 50 physically.
Yeah, he looked tremendous.
And Barnett Moxley was arguably the best indie match of the weekend. I have it neck and neck with one other match.
Yes, yeah. There's probably two matches that I'll say as well, but this one's right there with it. I mean, absolutely go out of your way. One of the matches you have to watch from this weekend is Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. Just a tremendous match between those two guys. The crowd going nuts. You couldn't hear them, but you could see them going nuts. Great work, a bloodbath. Both guys are bleeding. Barnett gets a clean win over Jon Moxley, which never really happens, and that was kind of cool as well. But yeah, they worked their fucking asses off, and that ruled. That was the first match, and I'd watched a lot of the stuff this day. That was the first match that felt like, okay, this feels like WrestleMania Weekend. This feels like a match that's conducive to WrestleMania Weekend, and I was so glad that there is still some of that there. I don't have to completely throw the towel in on WrestleMania Weekend. Some guys can still go out there and have WrestleMania Weekend worthy matches, and that was one of them.
Well, they're both great wrestlers, and they're both stars, and they built to that match. They're it's a match that people have been waiting for. It got canceled once, I think, maybe twice, at least once.
Twice, I believe. Yeah, twice.
And it delivered. I mean, Barnett is an excellent pro wrestler.
He is pretty good. Yeah,
he's really good. And obviously Moxley's awesome, and you had that whole dynamic there. Yeah, it fucking ruled. I went 4.5 on it. All the blood and
I think I was 4. Honestly, I think I'm 4.5 as well. Let me double check, but I think I was right there. Yeah, the blood was awesome. Just that, they just fucking worked their asses off. You felt it. You felt like these two dudes were killing each other out there, and it was awesome.
And with half these GCW shows, it was mic'd so well you could hear the hum of the fucking food truck thing.
right. They couldn't put a fucking microphone in the crowd, but they definitely got a mic next to the food truck, so that's good.
It's the only thing you could hear because the 20 people there aren't responding to anything. And then for Bloodsport, where there's a hot crowd, you could see the crowd going nuts, and you can't hear anything. Just a mess. But Bloodsport at this point was like the best show so far.
Oh my god, yeah, it blew away everything else. Yeah, I'm complaining about some of the stuff, but dude, I'll watch Janai Kai and Karen Tran versus half the shit I saw on the Essa Cup. Even though that match didn't land with me, Mikowski and Hetty was awesome. Like I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it blew away everything I had saw prior from GCW for sure. So GCW's night ended with For the Culture, a great time slot here at fucking 1 a.m. on a weekday. So I did not watch this live, and I've only now seen the last two matches from the show. Sam Moriarty and Leo Rush, and Swan and Too Cold Scorpio. Those are the only two that I saw, though. I have not watched the rest of the show. How much of For the Culture have you seen?
I saw the whole show. It was good. And actually, I think it was Moriarty Rush where the referee box.
Right? Oh yeah. We mix it up. Yeah, it was that one.
Didn't he wrestle? Hold on, let me make sure.
So I think they fucked up. No, I think he did wrestle Swan, and I think the referee fucked that one up too, if I remember correctly.
No, I don't think he. I think no. Yeah, no, he wrestled Swan to Swing Break, and the referee fucked it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This guy was snake bitten the entire weekend.
Yeah. Anyway, this was last week, and I'm getting some of these matches mixed up because I watched 9,000 matches. But, I mean, For the Culture was okay. It was the start of John Davis's excellent weekend. He's another guy.
We forgot to shout him out. I loved him this weekend.
Yeah. Rich Swann versus Too Cold. Look, I like watching Too Cold. It's a lot of fun. He's lost a lot. I mean, I know no one wants to hear it, but I don't mind. I still am okay with him being on these shows. But, he's starting to it's very like the commentators, which we know they're goofballs and they're terrible, but them going on and on about wanting to see Too Cold on national TV, please stop. He cannot be a national television wrestler at this point. He physically is incapable of doing it, and he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. But to watch him in there with Rich Swann at fucking 2:00 in the morning, I'm in. I will do that sure. Fucking every time and watch them. Yeah. So no problem with that. And this again was the Moriarty match with the bad referee spot. The match was going very well, by the way, or maybe it was the Swan match. I can't remember. But, For the Culture was fine. And to be fair, AJ Gray, whatever pleading he did on Twitter, they had a decent crowd.
They did. Yeah. I was kind of surprised. He seemed so disappointed by the crowd, and it was pretty solid. It wasn't great, but it was solid. So
it was better than the daytime shows, but worse than Bloodsport.
Right. I think that's a fair way to put it. So, so those were GCW's offerings on Thursday. IWTV. Their Thursday, they had Family Reunion Part 1 and Part 2 as their first two shows. What did you see? I think I want to say I watched all of both of these. Yeah, I did. I watched all of both these.
I think I saw all of this too. The Part 1 was with the Moriarty Edith Surreal match, which was like a I don't know, 2.5, 3-star match. And they did the IWA Mid-South title change, but did you see they did a dusty finish on Twitter?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they changed it back on Twitter.
Oh, you bastards.
It's IWA Mid-South. They're going to, But yeah, what the concept of family reunion is all the different promotions, getting a spotlight on the shows. So Moriarty defended the independent title and IWA Mid-South, and there was a Lucha Rules opener, which was like, you can't call it Chikara anymore, but it was all the Chikara people. And that was
Camp
fine.
Leapfrog, yes.
Yeah. You had a Guarini UWFI style match. It was a, like it has been in the past, a very, you had an old wrestling with
Will Wrestle. Yeah, I think Ricky Shane Page is a fucking dork, but I was all in on Will Wrestle versus Judge Hugo Lexington Black. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I love old wrestling. See, old wrestling, I want to say this about them. People think we don't like fun. Old wrestling was funny. They got it. You know what I mean? Like, I always liked old wrestling because it was in its own little universe. It didn't pretend to be real. It didn't pretend to be anything more than it was. And the gimmicks were clever and well done. So I loved old wrestling. Old wrestling was solid. So
yeah.
Judge Hugo Lexington Black.
Yeah.
It's awesome. The guys love it too. Yeah, the guys always just like totally bought in 100%. Old wrestling fucking rocks. Give me old wrestling over all this other irony bullshit all the time.
So part 2, a couple thoughts. AC Mack was in a 4-way tag opener, and
real quick, I thought part 2 blew away part 1. Part 2 was really good. Yeah.
It did. And AC Mack, I thought, got screwed all weekend because he was in a 4-way tag here. He was in a scramble at For the Culture. He's way too good to be opening up shows in multi-man matches.
Yeah, what are you guys doing? Come on, book this guy in something important. This guy's really, really good.
So other stuff that caught my eye, Gary J and Billy Starks. Billy Starks has been a wrestler I've been hard on, and I thought she was perfectly fine the entire weekend.
This was her best match of the weekend and maybe the best match I've ever seen her in. This was good, and it was exactly what it needed to be. It's exactly what a Gary J. Billy Starks match was, and I'll give her all the credit in the world because she went out there and she took a beating, and Gary did a great job of working with her as well. This is far and away the best intergender Billy Starks match I've ever seen, and probably the best Billy Starks match I've ever seen as well.
It's the best Billy Starks match, period, I've ever seen.
Right, yeah.
And Billy Starks all weekend, I was waiting for her to have, look, she's still not Manami Toyota, okay? But she went out there.
I think that's fair. Yeah, that's fair to say.
Well, some people would lead you to believe otherwise.
Right.
But I thought she was perfectly competent, and her other matches were all perfectly decent 2-star matches, and the J match was pretty damn good.
Well, here's the thing, and we've said this with Billy Starks in the beginning, is that it's okay to just say, hey, she's only X amount of years old, like, if she sticks with it, she has the potential to be really good. But the problem is that you can't do on Twitter. You can't just say, "Hey, Billy Starks is okay, and I hope she sticks with it because she might be pretty good." You have to say, "One of the most athletic wrestlers I've ever seen. Oh my God, sky's the limit. She's going to be one of the best to ever do it." Like, you don't have, but people have to do that. You either have to fucking suck or you have to be the best wrestler ever. And it can't be that. And commentary didn't help you. There was also points too where they're like, oh, and it wasn't this match, but it was something on GCW that she wrestled. And I think, Kevin Gill was like, one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen in wrestling. I'm like, oh, yeah. God. I'm like, bro, so come on. Like, you can't even.
You lose your credibility.
There's no plausible deniability on Billy. No offense to Billy. She is not one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen in professional wrestling. Like, come on, man.
This is a wrestler who often does spin kicks and falls down.
Right. It's okay. It's okay to say, wow, she's pretty good for being 16 years old. That's all you have to say. That's it. Like, it doesn't have to be this, like you said, you don't have to be invoking the names of Miami Toyota. It's like, she's fine. Like, we'll see what happens,
So here's wrestling on a completely different level. Daniel Garcia defeats Kevin Koo.
Oh my God. How great was this
Limitless title match and the C4 title.
Is this your favorite match of the weekend?
It's right there with Barnett and Moxley. I have them both at 4.5, and I would tell the listeners that this is one of the matches. I assume most people are going to watch Barnett Moxley anyway. This is a match where if you don't get the rec, you might not bother with it. You have to watch this match.
Here's the fucking rec. Watch this match. Yeah. Family Reunion Part 2, C4 title, Limitless Wrestling title. It was the semi-main event, I believe, of Family Reunion Part 2.
Yeah. Awesome match. Flawless work. Interesting work. This was a throwback to when WrestleMania Weekend was good. This would have fit in on any WrestleMania Weekend card that you can think of in the history of WrestleMania. This would have fit right in. And I have nothing but praise for this. It's arguably the best match of the weekend, period. Even if you count WWE, it's right there in the conversation. And there was some good stuff on TakeOver and at WrestleMania. I don't know, Rich. I'm out of superlatives. It was just fucking awesome, and everyone needs to go watch it.
Yeah, and there's really I can't. There's nothing I can really. It's just a good wrestling match. You know what I mean? Like two dudes went in there, and for 18 minutes they just had a professional wrestling match, and they beat each other's ass, and one guy won. Like I don't, it's just a good wrestling match. I don't really know how else to describe it.
What? This match, more than any other match on the entire weekend, including Bloodsport, felt like a fight and a struggle.
Yes, yeah, right.
And that's nothing. Like, you watch Jordan Oliver. I hate to keep picking on Jordan Oliver. Nothing ever feels like a fight or a struggle. And it feels like he's thinking his way through everything, and everything's awkward. This felt like a fight and a struggle, and it stood out. And it's got my highest recommendation. So stop what you're doing and go watch that.
Absolutely.
What was next?
Then there was ICW No Holds Barred Volume 11 Then and Now. I did not watch that show.
I watched none of these. No, that's not true. I watched like 2 matches on like the second show, so we can, unless you watched some of them, we can skip.
I didn't. I watched a few minutes of the No Holds Barred Pit Fighter X Battle of the Tough Guys, and I was like, I think I'm kind of done with fake fights I'm done with real fake fights, so I kind of skipped all those.
Yeah,
so
it's very meta.
Meta. I'm kind of over it. So the whole game that people do it. So all right, Joe, we'll go to the next day, Friday. I know you were up nice and early with your bowl of cereal to watch Alley Cat's Real Hot Girl Shit with you and your other 10 friends that were in attendance here at Alley Cat's Real Hot Girl Shit.
Rich, I watched this show.
Oh my god. Okay, how was it?
I watched half the show.
Okay. How was that half?
Edith Surreal Lady Frost wasn't any good. Tasha Steelz Trisha Dora, which I thought was the best match on paper, was fine. Alley Cat Billy Starks, I made sure I watched that because I thought it was going to be a train wreck and I was going to have a chance to make fun of it. It was fine. They were both fine. I thought it was pretty good, actually. I'd say it was 2 3/4, maybe 3. If I had to put a star rating on it. And they were both very good in the match. They were both very good at pushing it. They were both good in the match.
There you go.
So I have nothing bad. So, I have to be fair. And the Gray Sweatpants Battle Royal, I watched the whole thing. It was utterly ridiculous. And, Daniel Garcia can do comedy too. So he proved that there. And
am I seeing correct that this went 38 minutes, the Gray Sweatpants Battle Royal?
Rich, I think it's still going.
38 minutes. And also very on the nose that a predominantly male, almost all male, or it's all male, right? Yeah, all male. Except for Jazz, I guess, would have been the only one. So Jazz and a bunch of men main evented Alley Cat's Real Hot Girl Shit. So, yep. There we go. All right. Acid Cup 3, Night 2. Jordan Oliver does it, Joe. He beats Lee Moriarty. He wins the entire Acid Cup. This was not good. There was nothing.
This was not, yeah. I mean, the Lucha guys, both Dragon Bane and Arez lost. There were more. Laredo Kid no-showed. He just said, "Fuck it, I'm not wrestling."
He had travel issues, Joe. He couldn't.
Travel issues, despite the fact he was there already. And then he wrestled on other shows in that venue.
Like an hour later, yes. A few hours later, he was on spring break, but that he just couldn't find the venue at 2 p.m. or whatever the hell the Acid Cup was. But he got there eventually by, 5 p.m. for the spring break show. So.
He totally said to himself when he woke up, I am not wrestling in 150% humidity against Jordan Oliver. You know what? I'm good without that $20 payoff. Right. I'm sitting in my air-conditioned hotel room and chilling out. Yeah, not a good show at all. Just not a good show. Jordan Oliver, Lee Moriarty was fine. I mean, again, Oliver topped out at like 2 stars. It was a long show, and then so you're getting there, and I understand why this match was in it where it was, but you have this long show and nothing's been good, and then they have a scramble match that goes 14 minutes, and it was so bad. It was one of the worst scramble matches I've ever seen in my life. Terrible.
And I'm like, let's go. And I get that you need to give these guys a break, but then the final comes out and it's Jordan Oliver and Lee Moriarty, and it's just not good. So it was better than day one, probably, but it didn't have anybody actively dying in the ring, so I guess that's a possibility.
The Lucha guys needed to go deeper, but here's the thing. this is why I can't get on Lee Moriarty. He had to wrestle Edith Surreal and Jordan Oliver.
Right. He's too good for the scene. He's too good for the people that he has to.
So it's like, what do you expect him to do with opponents like that? Right. Anyway, what was next?
Then we had finally Spring Break. This was the highlight show on Friday night here, GCW Spring Break. I thought top to bottom, one of my favorite shows of the entire week, and I thought Joey Janela and Chris Dickinson was awesome. I thought even some of the comedy stuff was okay. Atticus Kogar and Masada I actually enjoyed. You had the Iron Beast versus Bobby Beverly and Eric Ryan, which I thought was awesome. The Lucha Six-Man, which was fucking incredible. Just an awesome match. And then the main event, which was just all eyeballs were on that main event. It was just, and it delivered. It delivered exactly the way you wanted it to deliver. It did everything it needed to do. That was Nick Gage versus Ricky Shane Page, the best story told on the Indies. Can I rant about one thing here real quick?
You can. Hey, Rich, it's your show.
It is my show. I'm half of the show. Okay. GCW falls ass backwards into the best story on the Indies, bar none. And this is not even with any sort of platitudes. They did it. It's a good story. This Nick Gage, Ricky Shane Page thing is an awesome story. They built it up for years. Nick Gage gets hurt. They could build it up for an entire other year after that because he's hurt. It's Ricky Shane Page. It's Nick Gage. Everybody likes Nick Gage. Everybody legitimately hates Ricky Shane Page. It's the best story told on the Indies. They promo it by having a video package of Ricky Shane Page doing a fake bank robbery, and that's it. Boom, we go right to the match.
Yeah, I mean...
I would have fucking done it. If you guys would have just sent me a goddamn flash drive, I would have edited you a video. Like, I was I'm like, oh, here we go. I can't wait to see. They're going to tell this story because there is somebody that has been told, hey, this story is really, really cool. You should check it out. They have all of this footage. They have crowds in GCW jumping over the railings to try to beat up Ricky Shane Page because he has so much heat. They have Nick Gage getting hurt. There's so much you can do. You have Nick Gage. There's no promos of Nick Gage you can find to put in this video package. The video package is Ricky Shane Page and his buddies doing a fake bank robbery and then going, just like you, Nick. Boom, right into the match. I was like, What are you doing? You idiots. You can't do anything right. You morons can't do anything right. I would have edited this for you. I would have done it for free.
Hey, be careful, because that's the magic word.
No, I'm not going to edit everything for free. I will edit the Nick Gage, Ricky Shane Page fucking promo package for free, because that would have been awesome to watch all those videos and watch the heat and all that. And how do you not do anything for that? What are you doing? Like, come on. That's a layup. It's a fucking layup.
You know, we pick on Ricky Shane Page a lot, especially you. But we pick on Ricky Shane Page a lot on this show. Stan, he booked this program start to finish. Give him some credit.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Credit.
He might be a fucking dork, but he did a good job here.
In years.
Yeah.
And Rich just doesn't let that foot off the pedal. Let me tell you. No, but seriously, you got to give him credit, because from what we were told, and he had a large hand in this story from start to finish. And I like how after Gage won, in this match was exactly what you think it would be, like a wild fucking hardcore deathmatch stunts, and then you transition right into Mox. Classic EC.
I'm having some slight connection issues. Joe, are you there? Can you hear me? But 10 minutes ago, that's when we have all the connection issues. Sorry about that. We'll see if I'll see what's going on with Joe's internet and my internet as well. But we'll try to.
Can you hear me, Rich?
I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we were having some. You were going in and out. I didn't think you could hear me, but anyway, we're back. Okay. So you were talking about Ricky Shane Page and the story, and
I think we're on a massive delay. We'll just have to fight through it.
We'll do. Yeah, something's going on. Yeah, you I know you're cutting in and out, but that's all right. But no, he did a great job telling the story. I think he's a fucking dork, but he did a great job telling this story. And this was everything you wanted from this main event. Those guys went out there and killed each other. There were big spots. This was everything. This proves to you that they could, if they wanted to, or at least I guess Ricky Shane Page, if he wanted to, or if other guys wanted to, they can tell great stories because guys run in, they get cut off by guys that are feuding with. We invoke the words ECW a lot with GCW, and it's unfair almost every single time we do it. But this one felt like that, where you have the culmination of a lot of different stories where, these guys run in and then their opponents cut them off. Then these guys run in and their opponents cut them off. And then Nick Gage finally, destroys Ricky Shane Page. And then or Brett Lauderdale runs in, and he's a former referee and he's running GCW, so he can count the pinfall 1, 2, 3, and Nick Gage gets the win, and it's awesome. And then, like you said, immediately you do all this big heat. You have all the eyeballs on this, and you parlay it right immediately into Jon Moxley versus Nick Gage, and that's masterful booking right there. So for all the bullshit we give Ricky Shane Page and all the bullshit we give GCW and all the bullshit we give Brett Lauderdale or whatever, this was done masterfully, and this just proves that they can do it. They just choose not to a lot of times. So
yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, seems like we're not even it seems like we're in sync now again too. So I was just gonna say, yeah, the Lucha 6-man was incredible, just out of this world good. A throwback to WrestleMania weekends of the past. And then look, there was some decent deathmatch stuff if you're into it with Kogar versus Masada.
Yeah, I like that match. Yeah.
And like you mentioned, Janela Dickinson was really good. So to me, this was top to bottom the best show of the weekend. And Starboy Charlie versus Billy Starks, again, it was fine. Mm-hmm. Starks was fine.
Joe, then we have to go to the final GCW show of this night, Lucid Dreams from midnight. This was a ride. What do you say about Lucid Dreams?
It was a lucid dream. It was
it certainly was. Julius Smokes and MLJ on commentary. Julius Smokes, I kind of got bored of it about halfway through, but I was laughing a lot listening to.
Here's the thing, though. On a show like this, I don't mind the shitty commentary.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is where shitty comedy. I don't want shitty commentary on the Acid Cup when guys are challenging for this, quote unquote prestigious tournament. But a show called Lucid Dream, I want Julius Smokes going, yeah, boy, just drunk off his ass, just screaming the entire time. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
The JTG Dr. Cube thing was just incredible. I mean, it was classic spring break is what it was. And then Big Cass does a run-in. Big Cass does a run-in.
I woke up, so I obviously was not awake during Lucid Dream because I had woken up at like 4 a.m. the day prior. So I woke up, and my whole plan was to watch it that morning. I was going to watch Lucid Dreams that morning. I wake up, I check my phone, and there's a tweet from you saying, JTG and Dr. Cube just hit each other with light tubes, and then Big Cass ran in. I'm like, what? What just happened? And by the way, that when I woke up, that had just happened like an hour ago too. You know what I mean? It was like 3.
Yeah, and it ended well after 4 o'clock.
It was like 4:15 a.m. and you're like, "Yep, JTG just hit Dr. Cube with a light tube, and then Big Cass ran." And I'm like, what?
No, but you're missing the punchline. Julius Smokes called Big Cass Test.
Who's dead? It's been dead for.
He thought it was Test.
Test has been dead for so long.
Yeah. It's fucking.
When did Test die? Didn't he die in like
at least 10 years ago? This match was the spirit of spring break.
2009. He died in 2009.
It was the spirit of spring break, this match. And then you had Low Key versus Leo Rush in the main event. And allegedly, Low Key, according to Effie, I guess not allegedly because Effie said it on.
Yeah.
Because this is Effie saying it. Cut a promo on everybody for not cleaning up the light tubes properly.
You know what? I'm with him.
I can't blame him.
I'm not here to wrestle a fucking light tube match. I'm not here to get all cut up. Clean this shit up.
He didn't sign up for a fucking death tube match, so I can't kill him on that. But that's just classic low-key, cutting a promo on everybody at 4 a.m.
With this deep voice, yeah.
Yeah. And then, he wrestles Leo Rush. He wrestled in his Hitman outfit. And, and they had a nice little... Look, that was the best match I ever saw that took place at 4 a.m. I can tell you that right now.
Definitively, yeah. I think objectively, yeah, definitely the best match you've ever seen at 4 a.m. So,
and I've seen matches at 4 a.m. So, that's the best one I ever saw at 4 a.m. Probably around 3.5 or something. They went out there and did what they could. But this match was something. This show was something. Too Cold versus Eli Everfly. Jimmy Lloyd versus... The last thing you want to see at 3 a.m. after you've seen him wrestle 8 times is Jordan Oliver versus Jimmy Lloyd. Let me tell you. Okay? Brian Cage and Chris Dickinson went out there and did a spot fest. Listen, this show wasn't that bad. It was definitely the funnest experience of the weekend. It was what spring break used to be.
Absolutely. I thought the show was going to be better, and it wasn't as good as I thought, but it was good in a completely different way. Does that make sense? Like, I thought we were going to get good wrestling. We didn't really get good wrestling on the show, but we got a lot of really fun things that were on the show, and just a total acid trip the entire time. So, which is what a show called VXS Lucid Dreams should probably be at. I watched it on a Saturday morning or whatever, so it didn't have quite the same impact that that we would have had. So, all right. Move on now. Action and Southern Underground Pro. Have fun, be sad. I thought Bell to Bell probably the best show of the entire weekend in terms of just like guys going out there and guys and girls going out there and having pretty good matches. It was even an intergender match that I enjoyed. But the main event, Finn Juice and Violence is Forever, just a professional wrestling match between David Finlay and Juice Robinson go out there, and I always liken this to Joe when you used to go to your early days of indies. I don't know if you ever went to kind of shindies on your own or just kind of local indies. But sometimes they would book like my indies would book like Marty Jannetty or some ex-WWE guy, or one time it was the Rock and Roll Express or whatever. And those guys come in the ring and they just look different, they sound different, they bump different, they punch different, they kick different, they tag, just everything just sounds crisper and bigger and louder. And that's what Finn Juice was. They came onto the show just like a ball of fire. The crowd loves them, and they come in and they just have a great professional wrestling match. And it's just like, yeah, these dudes are professional wrestlers that are on the top, in the upper echelons of this entire game. And they just, I don't want to use the term outclass because that makes it seem like I'm sort of talking down to everybody else. But you know what I mean? It just felt
I know what you mean.
Like these guys are just head and shoulders above everybody else on this show, type of stuff.
Seasoned professionals,
right?
And just the
they
wrestlers.
Just sound different. They just hit the mat differently. It's just everything they do. Hit the ropes differently. They're just a different aesthetic to when they come out. And you could say, yeah, that guy's like Marty Jannetty. I remember watching it and he'd be drunk off his ass, but that bell would ring and it's fucking Marty Jannetty. And he was so much better than everybody else on the entire show because it was Marty Jannetty. He just bumped differently. He hit the ropes differently. He got the crowd into it differently. They're just pros. They're just seasoned pros. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a notebook match, easy notebook match for me. As far as indie shows, I had, let me count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notebook matches on the weekend, which has to be an all-time low for a WrestleMania weekend, and this was one of them. And Ku had a good weekend, and Finn Juice worked really hard when, quite honestly, they didn't have to. There's 40 people there at best, but they went out there and worked their asses off. This was as good as a Finn Juice match as I've ever seen.
I know. That was gonna be my take. Is like, man, I'll take more of these matches versus them boring ass God match that they've had before. This is pretty damn good. I like this. They were like fiery young baby faces here, and it was kind of cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good show, though.
Yeah, top to bottom, like there's not a ton of other highlights, but everybody got like 6 to 10 minutes. Went out there, busted their ass, told a pretty good story, and I like the Nolan Edward Angeles Lane match as well. The intergender. I mean, they worked their asses off and beat the hell out of each other in that match. So I'll give them that.
Death match.
Yeah. And O'Shea Edwards, John Davis was fucking awesome. That was
good finish too.
Two bulls just killing each other. Yeah.
John Davis had a really good weekend.
Yeah,
a really good weekend.
I did not watch any of the no holds. Like I said, I watched 2 matches of Battle of the Tough Guys, and I was like, I'm kind of done with this shit.
Can't speak on him either.
Yeah,
I can't speak.
I'm done. We watched none of the fake GCW stuff, so we'll pass all that. And then I think, oh god, okay, I didn't watch any of these things. Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Did you watch Effie's Big Gay Brunch?
I didn't watch a single match on that. No.
Yeah. Did you watch Planet Death?
I did not.
I watched maybe a match, and then I realized I'm kind of done with it. I saw Slack. Oh yeah, I watched Slack and Nolan Edward, and I was kind of like, you know what? I'm kind of done with death matches this weekend too. So that's where I went there. I doubt you watched GCW Unsanctioned Pro Fueled by Spite.
No, I think the only show.
We're full in like WrestleMania at this point too, and I'm sure you were burnt out by this. We're in Saturday.
No, I saw. No, yeah, that I didn't watch any of that show either. No, I think I hand waved Collective by this point in time.
I think I did the same. Yeah, Shallow Graves I did not watch either, and then the Beyond show. Did you watch the Beyond Time Capsule show?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Haven't heard anything about it.
Tony Deppin's Beer House. Did you watch any of that?
Yes, I watched that show.
Okay, I watched that show too. I understand there was some issues that the show existed because the Synergy guy was a fucking sex pest, and they wanted to make sure that they
and it was hastily put together. I understand.
Yeah, I got it, but yeah, there's like 10 people in the audience, and it I don't know. It was.
There was some interesting stuff. The one thing is Ace Austin came out, and I'm like, where the fuck has he been all weekend?
Oh yeah. Nobody could find a way to book Ace Austin.
But I think he worked fake GCW stuff though.
Oh, that's right. He did. You're right. But
so to be fair, he may have been booked.
There was like, if you take this show in totality, the talent on this show was like better than almost any other show, because you had Rohit Raju, you had Daniel Garcia, you had JD Drake, you had like Ace Austin, you had Tank. Like you had some pretty good guys that showed up on the show and had some fun matches. But it ultimately just, I don't know.
In my headcanon, I like that Simon Grimm won a match by referee's decision on this show. And he's a jobber on Bloodsport.
Yes,
but when he goes to other shows, he wins his grappling.
Yeah, I like that too. But
that's my headcanon.
No, I mean, honestly, it's probably is a thought. I don't know if that for sure is, but
this was the Jordan Oliver JD Drake match, which was actually going pretty good and was on pace to be the best Oliver match of the weekend, and he got hurt. Now I think he's okay, but he did get hurt at the end of this, and it was a little scary. And we should note that Tony Deppen barely wrestled at all because he got hurt in his first match.
He got hurt, yeah, and just did commentary for this
just
show.
A bad weekend. Just a fucking
snake-bitten weekend, yeah. It probably shouldn't have happened, but it happened anyway, and whatever. But yeah, there was some good stuff, but unfortunately you have to sift through like 15 hours of shit to get to, 6 good matches or whatever you had in terms of the indie stuff. So let's briefly talk about these NXT TakeOver shows. We are over time, but that's all right. We'll get these out of the way. Night 1, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, obviously on Wednesday. I thought this was a pretty damn good show, with arguably my match of the entire weekend, if we're counting this as a WrestleMania weekend thing. But I thought top to bottom, every single match on the show absolutely delivered, and I thought Night 1 blew away Night 2. Like, not even fucking close in for me. I liked everything from Night 1. What'd you think?
Yeah, Night 1 was better. I think that's pretty much the consensus. I can't disagree with anything you just said.
So we had Pete Dunne and Kushida in the opener. Pete Dunne gets the win there. Pretty definitive win, but great work between two of these guys. Kushida obviously parlays his loss into winning the Cruiserweight Championship on this week's NXT, because of course that's what they would do, because they're terrible at booking these days. Gauntlet Eliminator went way too long. Bronson Reed got the win though, but I enjoyed it. But it probably a lot of.
I actually hated it. In fact, it was not only my least favorite match, I actively didn't like it. It's just, I hate this kind of match. I can't anymore.
What I think it does, it sets the tone for what NXT is these days, which is for some reason a big big laugh. Like everybody was a fucking gimmick, and oh, look how funny it is that Leon Ruff's small and sucks. And here's Dexter Lumis, he's the serial killer, and Cameron Grimes is rich, and Isaiah Scott is this, and LA Knight, he kind of sucks, but he comes out and he cuts promos, and it just, it shows you how far that entire brand has kind of fallen, despite having great matches still to this day, because they have just such good talent. They can't help but do it sometimes. But then Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa. I admit a lot of people like this way more than I did. I thought it was good, but it didn't land with me on that match of the year, match of the weekend level that it did for some other people. Where'd it land for you?
I loved it.
Did you? Okay. All right.
So it landed that level for me. This is right there with Barnett Moxley, Garcia Koo, and maybe one or two matches that happened to WrestleMania, whether it's Belair Banks or probably just Belair Banks. Oh, I really liked, what was the other WrestleMania match I popped big for? Sheamus Riddle. I wouldn't quite put it at that level though. But yeah, no, I loved it. And I thought the chop finish, how awesome was that?
That did. Got a lot of people bothered and hot and bothered, and that we continue this week.
Nerds.
A bunch of nerds would get upset when a fucking champion boxer punches some guy in the ribs, and they go, what? That can't be the finish. And then in this match, Walter just chops the fuck out of a guy and beats him that way, and a bunch of nerds didn't like it either.
With his giant bear paw. What's not to like about that? They beat the shit out of each other. It was a Walter match. Walter has the best hit rate. The guy wrestles like 6 times a year, and every match rules.
Then arguably maybe my favorite match of the entire weekend, my favorite match of NXT TakeOver. I love this match more than I think anybody else does, except Big Dave. Me and Big Dave are on the same wavelength here, because he went 4.5 stars with this one as well. MSK, Grizzled Young Veterans, Legado del Fantasma. This, oh my god, as far as doing shit matches go, one of my favorite doing shit matches I've ever seen. These guys just for 15 minutes did shit. All of it landed. All of it ruled. I fucking love this, dude. MSK is so much better than NXT. I saw these dudes for years live. for years live. And you have a bunch of weirdos on Twitter. They're like, they've always been this good. They've been, go watch this match. I watched most of those matches. I was live for most of those matches. They weren't this good, man. They are just nailing it. And I hope they fight the Grizzly Young Veterans forever, because that's a perfect team to face these guys, because the Grizzly Young Veterans don't want to do that stuff. MSK do want to do that, and it's a nice kind of push-pull. And then you got Legado del Fantasma, which is, DJ Z and Raul Mendoza, and they're both fucking great too, or Joaquin Wilde or whatever the fuck. And those guys are awesome too. So you add them into this match. I mean, this was a piece of art in terms of just high-flying, doing shit matches. This was tremendous. I love this match.
I love Grizzled Young Veterans holding it all together. They were the glue.
Oh yeah, you need them. If it was Legado del Fantasma versus MSK, I wouldn't have liked it that much, because it would be
and like a third team that was another flippy dude.
Right. You need like those. You need James Drake and Zach Gibson to look the way they look and wrestle the way they wrestle. Where it's like, what the fuck are you assholes doing? Get in this ring and let's wrestle. And then it's a nice juxtaposition with the guys that are just flipping around and doing everything. So yeah, I love this match. I thought it was awesome.
They are extremely underrated, especially Drake, because Gibson gets over with the mic work, and people forget about Drake.
Drake's
is
so good.
Really
good.
good.
Yeah. The problem is he's kind of like an anonymous look, an anonymous name, and all that sort of stuff, but he is really, really good.
Yeah. No, it was a great match. I agree.
I loved it. And then the main event, Raquel Gonzalez defeating Io Shirai to win the NXT Women's title. I thought it was good, not great. I liked some aspects of it, but I thought it fell into a little too many of the tropes that you get with the Io Shirai NXT match. But I thought, given the Raquel the definitive win, just having her go out there and just beat her, you know what I mean, in the middle of the ring, I like that aspect. There wasn't any run-ins, there wasn't Dakota Kai, there wasn't all that sort of stuff. But I liked it. I think Io Shirai worked her ass off, and I thought Raquel looked pretty damn good as well. So not great, but Io
Shirai worked so hard in this match. I mean, the dive off the fucking stage gimmick, and man, she's just really fucking good. And no, I'm with you. I thought it was very good, but I can't call it great.
Yeah. So enjoyed the result. I'm happy with Raquel getting the win. So that was fun. And then we go to night 2, which I did not like nearly as much. You had Santos Escobar and Jordan Devlin, NXT Cruiserweight title unification ladder match. Santos Escobar gets the win, defeats Jordan Devlin. I was tremendously disappointed by this match. This did not reach the levels that I thought it would, with two tremendous wrestlers in I don't know if it's the ladder match stuff or whatever, but I was very disappointed by this match.
See, I loved it. I thought it was great.
There you go. So,
I thought, and it overcame the ladder, because I did not want to watch a ladder match. It overcame that for me. And I think the 3 Irish guys, Sheamus, Finn Balor, and Jordan Devlin, are like 3 of the 5 best wrestlers in this company. So yeah, I was really into it. I was impressed that they were able to get me into a ladder match. So I went 4 stars flat. Well,
if you're going to go back and watch this, I don't know, because Santos Escobar wins the match, wins the title, and then loses it a few days later to Kushida, who lost.
Which is, so stupid.
You get this title unification. He finally does it. Santos Escobar is the unified, no doubt, undisputed Cruiserweight champion, then 2 days loses to a guy who lost a few days prior at TakeOver. So I don't know what happened to NXT. They're very bad at booking these days. I don't understand why or what the hell happened. Ember Moon, Shotzi Blackheart versus The Way, Candice LeRae, and Indy Hartwell. I thought this, I don't know. Stunk might be hard, but not good. How does not good work?
It did stink. It was just a collection of spots that didn't make any sense. And
yeah. Sometimes Ember and Shotzi go out there and they work their ass off and they try like hell and it works. And then sometimes it's this.
This match would have been so much better in front of a crowd, because it was nonstop and high energy, and in that sterile, fake, piped-in noise, ultra bright commentator screaming NXT environment. I just wanted this to fucking end. It was 10 minutes that felt like 30 minutes, and I just, again, I can't call it bad, but it definitely wasn't good.
North American title, Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed, who obviously won the gauntlet the night prior. Johnny Gargano wins. It's fine, but it's so, we talk about NXT booking. It's so weird that Johnny Gargano is this like dork, geek ass motherfucker on every week of NXT, and then he goes out there and he's just Johnny, wrestling, and just goes out there and out wrestles and beats Bronson Reed because he's Johnny Takeover and Johnny Wrestling. But then he's gonna go 2 days later and just be a dork again on Takeover. So
Gargano
on NXT. So
I know we don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but Gargano needs something new, and it's not a heel turn. It's stale.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of this modern era, and I fucking hate watching him wrestle these days. So yeah, it's pretty terrible. It's funny too, is we had we did a series of columns on voiceswrestling.com where I had people write about their favorite WrestleMania weekend moments and matches or whatever, and he was in like 3 of the 5 that we posted. You know what I mean? Because he's got so many of those moments, and then you look at this stuff and you're like, God damn, like you're just doing these matches, and it's just it's terrible. So all right, final 2 matches here. NXT title match, Karrion Kross, as anybody with a fucking brain could have predicted, defeats Finn Balor. I don't know, Finn was good in this. I think Kross, I don't know, I don't see it, Joe. I don't see it.
No, many people don't. We were right. We were ahead of the curve on this. We didn't like this from the start. The act is very corny. This guy just isn't good enough bell to bell to do anything that's longer than 5 minutes. I thought Finn Balor got as good a match out of this guy as you're going to get.
17 minutes, man. Who writes 17 minutes next to Karrion Kross's name? Like, what are you doing?
You can't do it. But Balor was, look, I went 4 flat on this because I thought Balor was so good and got as good a match out of this guy. They told a good story. But this is like peak Kross. You cannot get better than this out of him, especially at this length.
Then the main event. Speaking of length, 1, 2, 3. Okay, wrapped up. Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole. We just saw it. Kyle O'Reilly got the win just a few seconds ago as we were watching live here, unsanctioned match. What the fuck, dude? My life is too short. My life is too short, Joe.
I really like these guys. And
I do too.
For them, and it's like nobody needs this.
Nobody needed a 40-minute main event between these two dudes.
Especially when you're hitting each other with chains and chairs and there's no blood. First of all, how's there no blood? You're beating each other in the face with chains and chairs and there's no blood. It comes across as like a cartoonish version of a no DQ match or whatever they called it. Then it's just 40 minutes that feels like an hour and 40 minutes. All of the overdone production of NXT on top of it. This was fucking painful to watch.
I hated this. I hated this so much. I can't even give it a proper rating because it wouldn't be fair.
No, I can't rate this. They worked hard.
They worked hard, but I just want to rip my eyes out about 25 minutes in, and then it went double that. It was just, I feel bad because you're right. Like, these guys have been working their asses off. Kyle O'Reilly's been busting his ass. Adam Cole busting his ass. These guys had the great idea. It's just, it's too much. We don't need it.
They put themselves through physical hell in this match. Kyle O'Reilly was a mess after this match. You know what? There was a good 20-minute match in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that's all it needed to be. But it's NXT and they have to fucking make everything super epic. And you don't have to do that when but look, they've done these unsanctioned or no DQ or false count anywhere
we knew
matches.
It was going to be this. Yeah, anybody, you were lying to yourself if you thought these guys were going to go in here and have a good, tight 22-minute match or whatever. You knew it was going to just go on forever and ever and ever and ever. Yeah.
Did the same thing with Gargano and Ciampa in the same kinds of matches and made them go on forever. And it's just, no one needs this shit, and no, I didn't like it at all. Despite the excellent, work between the two.
Yeah, it was a great match that I fucking hated. It was a really, really good match
Here's the thing. You can't tell a good no DQ unsanctioned story in 40 minutes. Because someone would be dead by then with the things that they were doing to each other. Like, you're using chains and
right.
And stairs and chairs. It doesn't need to be 40 minutes. Just do a hard, intense 18-minute match. And these two guys are good enough to do that.
And they do that on the main roster too, which is the best part. On WrestleMania, they did that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks went out there and had a nice, concise, 15, 18-minute match or whatever and told a great story. It's like,
but especially this kind of match though, where it's a grudge and it's no DQ.
Right.
No reason to be 40 minutes. If they're going to go out there and grapple, I think these two could go out there and do a wrestling match and go 40 and maybe make it be, have it be something that's great. Not this kind of match. Hardly anyone can. It's just NXT is just so, this isn't the show for it. We don't have any time. But
no, it's just so rushed. It's over.
Just,
yeah.
God, so hard to watch. I have no interest in watching it. It's just bright and overproduced and everything is epic.
Yeah, everyone's screaming. Everyone's just yelling. Oh my God. It's even
the ring announcer with the growling. I mean,
the growling ring announcer. I hate her so much.
I cannot stand
she's
her. What is her name?
my least favorite part. Ember Moon. It's like, what?
She needs to be buried by name. Somebody in the chat room tell me her name.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
that growling
Kyle O'Reilly.
She fucking
What are we
stinks.
doing?
She stinks.
Why are you
Just as bad as the other dope, the guy that looks like
Greg Hamilton? Greg Hamilton.
Greg Hamilton, who looks like Bruce Pritchard. From
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
Fucking garbage.
Fuck.
I
God.
hate this company so much.
So.
Oh, my favorite part of NXT is when a guy goes to the outside and Vic Joseph is yelling so loudly that there's the ring mic is picking up his yelling, and you hear this weird tinny thing where it's clear that they have to reduce everybody else's microphone because Vic's screaming so loud that you can hear him in the ring mic and in Beth's mic and in Wade's mic. So it's just like you're in this fucking wall of sound of Vic Joseph just screaming, and it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? Stop yelling. Nobody needs to yell.
Yeah. Alicia Taylor. She stinks. You stink, Alicia Taylor. You're the worst.
They definitely tell people to growl, though, because I remember JoJo had a growl period for a while, too.
Oh, no. This is taught. I mean, you could tell by Greg Hamilton, and, they want them to do this, especially in NXT. Everything's got to be. You see the new NXT logo with the fucking
a bird, and there's bones, and it's
just so corny.
What are they doing? They're the worst.
I don't know what they're doing.
The corniest motherfuckers in the world. God, they're just bones and lights and birds and
junk. Fucking Christ.
Company's terrible. Man, it sucks because there's so many good wrestlers and so many good potential matches, but God, it's unwatchable. But all right, that was WrestleMania weekend. So the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly. There we go. We're out of time here. So voicesofwrestling.com, obviously, for all the reviews of the weekend as well. Patreon.com/voicesofwrestling if you're one of those freeloaders not listening for the $10. But that's it for us. We're out of here. I got nothing else to plug, nothing else to say. Oh, my bookie, promo code VOICES, get that deposit match up to $1,000. And also manscaped.com, promo code FLAGSHIP to get 20% off plus free shipping. So anyway, for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. We'll talk to you next time on the Voice of Wrestling Flagship Podcast. Take care.